Chapter 506. Not bad. Killing these void beasts is indeed enough to bring me a lot of benefits. Chu Fengmian was delighted. After killing this flock of void thunderbirds, he could also seize a lot of spiritual energy to condense the ancient war dragon blood essence. Now, Chu Fengmian's strength had no bottleneck. As long as he had enough spiritual energy, Chu Fengmian could continuously condense the ancient war dragon blood essence to increase his strength. Die, all of you! Chu Fengmian laughed wildly in his heart. Others were afraid of falling into this flock of void beasts and being besieged. Chu Fengmian was not afraid. His war dragon bloodline firmly suppressed these void thunderbirds, making them unable to exert even 20 to 30% of their strength. In addition, Chu Fengmian had the divine pulse, so his spiritual energy was almost endless. Even in the void ocean, he could continuously absorb spiritual energy and attack with all his strength without consuming any spiritual energy. Not to mention 3,000 void thunderbirds, even if there were 30,000 or 300,000 of them, Chu Fengmian could devour them all if he had enough time. In Chu Fengmian's eyes, these void thunderbirds were like spiritual elixirs that contained countless pure spiritual energy. War dragon strength. Erupt. Chu Fengmian laughed continuously, urging his strength to the state he used to deal with Luo Chen. The terrifying war dragon aura intimidated countless void thunderbirds around him. Chu Fengmian urged the war dragon claw, and every time he waved it, it was enough to kill a dozen void thunderbirds. Chu Fengmian was in the flock of void thunderbirds, but he was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, crazily slaughtering them. One by one, he killed the void thunderbirds and devoured their spiritual energy. Why is there no movement after Chu Fengmian rushed into the flock of void thunderbirds? Could it be that he died? It doesn't matter if this trash dies, but don't drag us down. Luo Chen and Lin Mu discussed coldly when they saw Chu Fengmian rushing into the flock of void thunderbirds without causing any commotion. In their hearts, they wished that Chu Fengmian would die in the flock of void thunderbirds. Even if we encounter this flock of void thunderbirds, we can only kill them slowly. That brat rushed in recklessly, isn't he courting death? Luo Chen snorted coldly. However, before he could finish his sentence, a terrifying dragon might erupted from the flock of void thunderbirds. Chu Fengmian's body was like an ancient battle dragon, slaughtering wantonly. With a swipe of his hand, more than a dozen void thunderbirds died in Chu Fengmian's hand. They were crushed by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian absorbed countless pure spiritual energies into his body, causing Chu Fengmian's strength to rise. What? Seeing this scene, Luo Chen's expression was extremely gloomy. He originally thought that even if Chu Fengmian didn't die, he would still suffer some hardships. It was just the right time for him to teach Chu Fengmian a lesson. But he didn't expect that Chu Fengmian would unleash his divine might as soon as he charged into the flock of void thunderbirds and began to massacre them all at once. It seemed that the flock of void thunderbirds was no match for Chu Fengmian at all. This person's bloodline is extremely effective against the void thunderbird. Young Master Yan glanced at Chu Fengmian and spoke slowly. It's no wonder that he's fearless. Under the suppression of his bloodline, the strength of these void thunderbirds is less than 20%. They're no longer a threat. Damn it. If this continues, those void thunderbirds will all be killed by this brat. Let's go. We can't let him take all the benefits alone. Luo Chen's face showed some reluctance. He roared loudly and rushed forward. Void beasts represented danger and opportunity. If all 3,000 void thunderbirds fell into Chu Fengmian's hands, Luo Chen would be extremely jealous. He moved his body and rushed towards the flock of void thunderbirds, slaughtering them to death. With the might of Chu Fengmian's battle dragon, it was extremely easy for him to slaughter them. Let's go too. Xikong Xian, young Master Yun and the others moved their bodies and joined in the slaughter. It seems that these people are also here to divide the spoils. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. These people were taking advantage of the situation. However, before they went to Dragon Emperor Yan Gu, it was not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality. More than 1,500 void thunderbirds had died in Chu Fengmian's hands. Chu Fengmian had gained quite a lot of benefits. In Chu Fengmian's body, the power of the 1,500 Void Thunderbirds allowed him to condense more than 20 drops of ancient battle dragon blood essence. Every drop of ancient battle dragon blood essence was enough to improve Chu Fengmian's strength. The more ancient battle dragon blood essence he awakened, the more powerful Chu Fengmian became. In a short while, the flock of Void Thunderbirds was completely annihilated. The most powerful Void Thunderbird King was also killed under the joint efforts of the group. Sikong Xian stopped and looked at Chu Fengmian, praising him. "Brother Chu, you do have some skills. If you can deal with the demonic beasts, it will be of great use in Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave dwelling." Hearing Sikong Xian's words, Chu Fengmian suddenly asked, "Oh? There are also countless demonic beasts in Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave dwelling?" "That's right." Sikong Xian nodded and said, "We've entered Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave dwelling once, but there were countless demonic beasts in it. Many of them are from the side branches of the true Dragon Clan. They possess the Dragon Clan's bloodline and are extremely difficult to deal with. Looking at Brother Chu's skills, it's obvious that your bloodline is extremely pure. It shouldn't be a problem for you to deal with a few demonic beasts that possess the Dragon Clan's bloodline," Sikong Xian said. Although his tone was polite, there was a hint of doubt in his tone. Chu Fengmian frowned slightly, then laughed out loud. "Of course, it's not a problem. It's just a few demonic beasts. It's easy to deal with them." Sure enough, he's a piece of trash who had some fortuitous encounters. He couldn't even withstand such a little provocation. Hearing Chu Fengmian's reply, Luo Chen, Lin Mu and young Master Yun sneered in their hearts. It's good that they've provoked Chu Fengmian. When they enter Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave dwelling, they can use Chu Fengmian as a shield. Sikong Xian also laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, then I'm looking forward to Brother Chu's bravery. We'll have to rely on Brother Chu to deal with the void beasts." "No worries." Chu Fengmian laughed out loud. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Sikong Xian felt even more disdain towards Chu Fengmian. So what if he's strong and possesses a special bloodline? Such a brainless person can only be manipulated by him. However, Sikong Xian's expression was extremely amiable. Brother Chu's heroic spirit is admirable. Let's go. We'll continue to the chaotic burial sea. Chapter 507. The group gradually approached the area of the disorderly burial sea. The number of void beasts they encountered increased. Chu Fengmian had volunteered to kill countless void beasts along the way. Sikong Xian sneered in his heart. These void beasts were difficult to deal with, although they could gain a lot of benefits from killing them. However, their goal this time was to head to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Compared to the endless opportunities in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, this void beast was nothing. Originally, they were all conserving their spiritual energy and preparing to show off their skills in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Encountering someone like Chu Fengmian who was willing to take the initiative to kill void beasts, they naturally flattered him in all sorts of ways. They wanted Chu Fengmian to continuously kill void beasts. Along the way, almost all the void beasts were killed by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian looked very calm, but secretly, he pretended to swallow a lot of elixirs to recover his spiritual energy. However, the consumption of spiritual energy was not something that could be quickly replenished with elixirs. Obviously, it was a great burden on Chu Fengmian. In their opinion, Chu Fengmian was just putting up a strong front to maintain his reputation. However, only Chu Fengmian knew all of this. He had the divine pulse and endless spiritual energy. Even if he killed 10,000 void beasts, Chu Fengmian would not feel tired at all. Moreover, killing void beasts was enough to bring great benefits to Chu Fengmian. After devouring the void beast's spiritual energy and condensing the ancient battle dragon blood essence, Chu Fengmian had already condensed more than 100 drops of ancient battle dragon blood essence. Since these people wanted to scheme against Chu Fengmian would beat them at their own game. He pretended to be weak and waited until he entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling to show his true strength. There's another group of void white tigers ahead. There are about 200 to 300 of them. I wonder if Brother Chu can deal with them. Si Kongxian looked at the group of void white tigers and quietly asked Chu Fengmian. If Brother Chu can't deal with them alone, let's take a detour. These void white tigers are not easy to deal with. Brother Chu has already killed many void beasts. These void white tigers are not easy to deal with. Let's take a detour. Lin Mu purposely said. Although he said that he was trying to persuade Chu Fengmian, he was actually trying to provoke Chu Fengmian. Humph, it's just a few white void tigers. I'll go and kill them all now. Chu Fengmian purposely showed some anger on his face. His figure moved and rushed up. This caused these people to be overjoyed. Each of these void white tigers has the strength of a peak saint. It's extremely troublesome to kill them. This kid actually went in alone to kill them. How foolish. Luo Chen looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered. I'll use my spiritual energy here. Let's see if he has any energy left when we reach Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave residence. That's right, a foolish brat. Bringing him along will save us a lot of trouble. In any case, someone will help us deal with the void beast, so why not? Lin Mu sneered and said. He thought we were flattering him, but we were just using him. Once we reached Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave abode, we kicked him out. You can't say that. After all, he still has some use. We can let him deal with other demonic beasts. Young Master Yan's eyes flickered as he laughed. There are countless traps in Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave abode. We can use him as a shield to explore the traps. Bai Xian, where did you find such a fool? Si Kongxian looked at Bai Xian and sneered. I think your helper can't hold on any longer. Why don't you beg us to save him? Humph. Bai Xian's face was extremely cold after hearing Si Kongxian's words. She did not say a word. However, she was also incomparably worried in her heart. Those people were clearly targeting Chu Fengmian. She secretly transmitted her voice to Chu Fengmian, but Chu Fengmian told her not to do anything. She had no other choice but to wait at the side. While they were talking, Chu Fengmian had already rushed into the void white tigers. These people think that I'm just trying to save face. In fact, they don't expect that I have a divine pulse. My spiritual energy is simply endless. It doesn't matter how many void beasts I kill. Without these people fighting over me, the power of these void white tigers will all belong to me. Chu Fengmian was extremely excited. He gathered his spiritual energy and suddenly hit one of the void white tigers with a palm strike. Bang! The void white tiger's head was immediately pierced by the palm strike. Chu Fengmian devoured a large amount of its spiritual energy. Everything was done smoothly. Great! The spiritual energy of this void white tiger is enough to condense 1/10 of a drop of ancient war dragon blood essence. 10 void white tigers are enough to help me condense a complete drop of ancient war dragon blood essence. If I kill all of these void white tigers, I can condense at least a dozen drops of ancient war dragon blood essence. Chu Fengmian calculated in his heart and was ecstatic. The void ocean was indeed a good place. The void beasts that everyone feared and found troublesome were all nourishment for Chu Fengmian. Ordinary martial artists, no matter how strong they were, would not dare to kill void beasts in the void ocean. This was because it would consume a lot of spiritual energy to deal with a void beast. Even if they were to kill it, they would suffer a great loss. However, Chu Fengmian was different. He had divine pulse and the spiritual energy that he consumed could be replenished at any time. Therefore, the void beasts were like elixirs and nourishment for Chu Fengmian. Kill them all. Chu Fengmian urged his spiritual energy to kill the void white tigers around him and absorb their energy. Chu Fengmian deliberately slowed down his speed when he was killing the void white tigers. He made it seem as if he did not have much strength and was struggling to hold on. Chu Fengmian also deliberately swallowed a lot of precious elixirs. It seemed as if he was recovering his spiritual energy, but in fact, he was refining them to condense the ancient war dragon blood essence. This kid is really holding on. He even took out the Shang energy recovery elixir. Si Kongxian looked at the elixir that Chu Fengmian swallowed and said with a smile. This is really generous. He swallowed such precious elixirs just to deal with a few void white tigers. It seems like this kid has a lot of wealth in his hands. Luochen looked at Chu Fengmian and thought to himself. When I enter Dragon Emperor Yangu's cave mansion, I must find a chance to kill him and seize his wealth and bloodline. After almost 2 hours, Chu Fengmian flew back slowly. Chapter 508. Thank you for your hard work, Brother Chu. Sikong Xian greeted Chu Fengmian with a smile when he saw him flying back. These white void tigers are not easy to deal with. Even if we attack together, I'm afraid we won't be able to kill all of them. It's nothing. Any demonic beast is nothing in front of me. Chu Fengmian laughed and pretended to be indifferent. However, the spiritual energy in Chu Fengmian's body was extremely unstable. It seemed like he was struggling to hold on because he had consumed too much spiritual energy. Of course, Chu Fengmian was pretending to be weak in order to numb Sikong Xian and the others. Once Chu Fengmian had consumed most of his spiritual energy, he wouldn't seem to be a threat anymore. When they arrived at Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion, Chu Fengmian would be able to show his prowess. Brother Chu is indeed powerful. I'm afraid that you'll be promoted to a seed disciple when you return to the North Sea Academy. Sikong Xian flattered him on purpose and said. It seems like Brother Chu didn't use much energy. Let's continue our journey. Sikong Xian said so on purpose to not give Chu Fengmian any time to rest and recover his spiritual energy. You! Chu Fengmian pretended to be extremely embarrassed, but he still put on a strong front and spoke in a weak voice. It's okay. Let's go now. Let's go. The others secretly transmitted their voices to each other as if they were discussing something. They looked at Chu Fengmian as if they were looking at a fool. The group continued to fly. After a while, there were many things in the surrounding void. Huge rocks appeared one after another. Among these rocks, there were many caves, but they were all extremely dilapidated. There was no longer any spiritual power in them. This is the disorderly burial sea. These rocks are the ancient caves that were discovered before. However, they have been explored by others. Sikong Xian said. Let's continue. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion is at the edge of the disorderly burial sea. The group continued to fly. Bai Xian glanced at Chu Fengmian and saw that he was pretending to be strong on the outside but weak on the inside. She quietly passed a pill to Chu Fengmian. These pills are enough to recover some of your spiritual energy. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion is extremely dangerous. You should consume all of these pills. Oh? Chu Fengmian was surprised to see Bai Xian's reaction. He and Bai Xian were also in a cooperative relationship. However, Bai Xian didn't try to trick Chu Fengmian like Sikong Xian and the others. Instead, she gave Chu Fengmian medicinal pellets. It seemed that Bai Xian really wanted to work with Chu Fengmian to explore Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. It's fine. Senior sister, you can keep these pills for yourself. Chu Fengmian also quietly transmitted his voice. At the same time, he secretly condensed a stream of spiritual energy and directly poured it into Bai Xian's body. Bai Xian could feel that Chu Fengmian's spiritual energy was extremely dense, as vast as a mountain range. It was extremely dense. Bai Xian exclaimed in shock. You still have such strength? You killed those void beasts without any effect? After killing so many heavenly void beasts, even if Bai Xian were to do it herself, she probably wouldn't have much strength left. Therefore, she never thought that Chu Fengmian's appearance was just a disguise. But now, the vigorous power in Chu Fengmian's body shocked her greatly. Chu Fengmian secretly transmitted his voice to Bai Xian and directly rejected the medicinal pellets Bai Xian handed over. I have some tricks up my sleeve. Listen to them first and wait until we reach Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Sikong Xian knew the most about Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Therefore, he was the leader. Chu Fengmian deliberately showed weakness to use Sikong Xian. When they really entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, Sikong Xian would be useless. It wouldn't be too late for Chu Fengmian to deal with them then. These people must die. Chu Fengmian's killing intent was extremely strong. Those who dared to scheme against him must die. Seeing Chu Fengmian reject Bai Xian's medicinal pellets, the disdain in Sikong Xian's eyes deepened. Sure enough, he's a piece of trash who cares about face. He can't even hold on anymore, yet he's still forcing himself. It doesn't matter anyway. Let him lure those monstrous beasts. Chu Fengmian's actions were even more in line with his strong appearance. Sikong Xian purposely flew extremely fast, causing Chu Fengmian to gasp for breath. It was extremely difficult for him to keep up. Finally, after 6 hours, under Sikong Xian's lead, they suddenly arrived at the edge of the disorderly burial sea. There was nothing in front of them, only an endless void. Is Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling here? Seeing Sikong Xian stop, Chu Fengmian thought to himself. He opened his spiritual awareness and scanned the surroundings, but he didn't find any trace of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. While Chu Fengmian was thinking, Sikong Xian took a step forward. He muttered something silently. Chu Fengmian could tell that it was an extremely ancient language, but he couldn't understand it. Then, a huge door suddenly appeared in the void before them, tearing the surrounding space apart. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling is really hidden to the extreme. I'm afraid that without a fortuitous encounter, it's impossible to find it. Chu Fengmian thought to himself when he saw the door appear. Although he could have killed Sikong Xian earlier, it was indeed useful to keep him alive. Without Sikong Xian's lead, even Chu Fengmian wouldn't be able to find Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. This is Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling? The rumors are true. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling is really hidden. Without a fortuitous encounter, it's impossible to open it. Young Master Yun, Lin Mu and the others were shocked when they saw the door appear. Everyone, let's go in first. Sikong Xian chuckled. He moved his feet and was the first to step into the door. Seeing that Sikong Xian was the first to enter, the others followed suit. Chu Fengmian stood in front of the door and used his spiritual awareness to check inside. After confirming that there wasn't any danger, Chu Fengmian was the last to enter. As soon as they entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, they saw a completely different world in front of them. The various laws here were completely different from those in the Void Ocean. Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave abode was a small world just like the Beimang Academy. People like Dragon Emperor Yan were indeed at the peak of the 9 domains. They were able to open up a small world like this in the void. Although this small world wasn't as big as the Beimang Academy, it was still huge and had dense forests. Chapter 509. Chu Fengmian scanned the forest with his spiritual awareness and discovered countless demonic beasts. At the center of the forest was a huge mountain peak. There was a huge door that contained a terrifying dragon aura. Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave should be on this mountain peak. However, if they wanted to approach the cave, they would have to deal with the countless demonic beasts below. These demonic beasts weren't weak existences. Chu Fengmian sensed that the strongest demonic beasts were at the 5th level of life and death realm. They far surpassed the martial artists present. Even Chu Fengmian would have a hard time dealing with them. Bai Xian secretly transmitted her voice to Chu Fengmian. The last time we entered, we encountered these demonic beasts. We could only retreat temporarily. Chu Fengmian nodded inwardly. He also sensed that these demonic beasts were vaguely guarding the mountain peak at the center of the forest. If they wanted to pass through the forest, these demonic beasts would definitely gang up on them. Everyone, Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave is at the center of the forest. However, before that, we have to deal with these demonic beasts. Sikong Xian said coldly. His eyes flickered. No one knew what he was scheming. Even if we fight with these demonic beasts, I'm afraid we won't be able to deal with them. Therefore, we need someone to lure them away. Sikong Xian's words silenced everyone. According to Sikong Xian, someone had to act as bait to lure these demonic beasts. Putting aside the danger of luring them away, who could guarantee that they could enter Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave after luring these demonic beasts away? It would be extremely difficult to survive these demonic beasts, let alone shake them off. Lin Mu suddenly said. Brother Sikong was the one who discovered Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave first. We will naturally listen to Brother Sikong's arrangements. Luo Chen chimed in from the side. I'm willing too. Young Master Yin nodded in agreement. That's right. Without Brother Sikong, we wouldn't be able to come here. We will follow Brother Sikong's arrangements. The three of them expressed their stance one after another. Although they sounded righteous, they were actually colluding with each other. This caused Bai Xian's expression to become extremely unsightly. Since these people had declared their stance, they were naturally on the same side as Sikong Xian. Sikong Xian would never let them lure the demonic beasts to their deaths. Only she and Chu Fengmian wanted to go. What? Bai Xian, Chu Fengmian, are you two not going to agree? Young Master Yin suddenly stood out and said righteously. It's all thanks to Brother Sikong that we were able to come to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Why are you kicking us to the curb now? You can't be heartless. Luo Chen chimed in from the side. What's more, we're only in charge of luring the demonic beasts away. Once we enter the cave, we'll naturally help you enter as well. That's right. Bai Xian, Chu Fengmian, listen to my arrangements. I won't let you suffer any losses. Sikong Xian said coldly. Vaguely, a wave of spiritual energy pressed down on him. How about it? Have you made up your mind? Bai Xian was so angry that her face turned red. She wanted to say something but was interrupted by Chu Fengmian. Both of us will follow your orders. Chu Fengmian said with a look of unwillingness. However, he seemed to be unable to resist the temptation of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode and decided to stay. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Sikong Xian said with a strange smile on his face. All right, I'll assign the tasks now. Later, Brother Yun and I will stay at the back to prevent any accidents. I'll be responsible for opening Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Brother Lin and Brother Luo will be in charge of looking for any demonic beasts that have slipped through the net. As for luring the demonic beasts, I'll leave it to Bai Xian and Brother Chu. After all, Brother Chu has the bloodline of the real dragon. It shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with a few small demonic beasts. We'll enter the cave abode first. After Brother Chu has dealt with the demonic beasts, he can follow us in. Sikong Xian said righteously and seemed to be very fair. However, in reality, he had given the most dangerous task to Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian. As for them, they were going to pick up a ready-made opportunity to enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Hearing Sikong Xian's words, Bai Xian's face turned red with anger. She did not expect to follow Sikong Xian here to use her as a bait. Even Chu Fengmian's heart was filled with killing intent. Sikong Xian had brought them to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode first before falling out with them. Even if they wanted to leave now, they had nowhere to go. If they wanted to leave alone, they would have to face the dangers of the disorderly burial sea alone. It was impossible to leave alive. Brother Sikong, you're a good schemer. Let the two of them enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode first before dealing with them. Even if they leave now, only death awaits them. They can only follow Brother Sikong's arrangement. Young Master Yun sneered and transmitted his voice to Sikong Xian. I was wondering why Brother Sikong brought these two burdens. Turns out that you've already thought about it. Humph, that bitch Bai Xian. I've pursued her for a long time and she actually rejected me. Today, it's time to teach her a lesson. Sikong Xian said with a cold expression. As for that kid, his bloodline is a little special. It's just right for him to lure those demonic beasts away. The four of us together are not afraid that the two of them will not listen to us. Sikong Xian quietly transmitted his voice. He turned his head and looked at Chu Fengmian as he coldly spoke. Chu Fengmian, you go down first and see how many demonic beasts there are. Sikong Xian's words were practically in order. The moment he spoke, young Master Yun, Lin Mu, and Luo Chen channeled the spiritual energy in their bodies. Wave after wave of enormous power directly pressed down on them. The threat contained within was self-evident. Sikong Xian, don't go too far. Bai Xian could no longer bear it and roared in anger. We're here to cooperate with you. We're not here to be your slaves and work for you. What's wrong, Bai Xian? You dare to resist? Before Sikong Xian could speak, Lin Mu took the lead and snorted coldly. This arrangement is agreed upon by all of us. What's wrong? You're not convinced? Young Master Yun's face was also cold as he revealed a cold smile. Brother Sikong's arrangement naturally has his reasons. Since we're all here for Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode, you'd better be obedient. Let's go. Under such coercion, Chu Fengmian seemed to be unable to resist. He could only move his body and fly towards the forest below with Bai Xian. Chapter 510. Chu Fengmian rushed into the forest with Bai Xian in tow. Suddenly, a series of beastly roars resounded. Countless demonic beasts suddenly emerged from the jungle and chased after Chu Fengmian. Golden Mark Godly Tiger. Green Eye Bird. Among the countless demonic beasts, the two most powerful ones were 5th-level Life and Death Realm demonic beasts. Golden Mark Godly Tiger and Green Eye Bird were both ancient demonic beasts with noble bloodlines and formidable strength. There are actually 2 demonic beasts in this forest. We're no match for either of these 2 demonic beasts, said Lin Feng. Sikong Xian and young Master Yun said with lingering fear when they saw the 2 demonic beasts. Fortunately, the 2 of them went to lure the demonic beasts. Once they're lured away, we'll be able to pass through the forest and enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. This Chu Fengmian is stupid. He actually went to his own death. But, it's good. It saves us a lot of trouble. Seeing Chu Fengmian lure the countless demonic beasts, Luo Chen laughed in his heart. Being the bait of these demonic beasts will only lead to death sooner or later. Luo Chen thought coldly in his heart. It's a pity that I can't kill him with my own hands. But, dying in the mouths of demonic beasts is enough. In the forest, Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian swaggered as they flew. Countless demonic beasts in the forest were startled awake and chased after them. Bai Xian turned her head. The moment she saw the 2 demonic beasts, her face turned deathly pale. Why did you agree to them? Even if we have to shed all pretense of cordiality, you don't have to listen to them and lure the demonic beasts. Bai Xian followed Chu Fengmian as she looked at the countless demonic beasts chasing after them. Damn it! These people are burning the bridge after crossing the river. They're using us as bait. They want to use me as bait? With their little scheme, how is that possible? Chu Fengmian sneered and said to Bai Xian. Let's go. We'll hide from their sight and find a place. I'll naturally deal with them. As he spoke, Chu Fengmian's flying speed increased by a lot. In an instant, he lured all the monstrous beasts away. Sikong Xian and the others were no longer able to detect Chu Fengmian's figure. Sikong Xian looked at Chu Fengmian's flying speed and seemed to be slightly surprised. However, an extremely vicious expression soon appeared on his face. This kid does have some tricks up his sleeve. He can actually lure the beasts here. However, even if he manages to lure the beasts away, I will still kill him if he dares to enter Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave dwelling. After Sikong Xian finished speaking, he turned to the others. Let's go. While this kid is luring the beasts away, let's enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. All right. The other 3 also nodded their heads. A few streaks of light directly flew towards the center of the forest. It finally moved. Chu Fengmian's lips curled into a smile. His spiritual consciousness had been observing Sikong Xian and the other 3. He was waiting for the moment when the 4 of them went to open the cave. Chu Fengmian sped up and shook off all the demonic beasts in an instant. All things transform into dragon. Chu Fengmian shouted in a low voice. His body suddenly began to transform into the appearance of a real dragon. This sudden change caused Bai Xian's face to be filled with astonishment. What? You're from the Dragon Clan? Bai Xian looked at Chu Fengmian in disbelief and said. Chu Fengmian's sudden transformation was very similar to that of the Dragon Clan. Especially the aura on Chu Fengmian's body, it was no different from that of the Dragon Clan. Chu Fengmian said, "No, it's just some special secret technique. Conceal your aura. I will also transform your body to avoid the beast's pursuit." Bai Xian heard Chu Fengmian's words and hurriedly concealed her aura. Now that Chu Fengmian and she were in the same boat, she could only choose to believe in Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian said. He moved his palm and a drop of essence blood was shot out and merged into Bai Xian's body. Suddenly, Bai Xian's body began to transform into the appearance of a real dragon. What kind of secret technique is this? It can actually transform my body? Bai Xian looked at her body in shock. Her body had transformed into the appearance of a real dragon in an instant. There was no difference between her and a real dragon. The dragon's might was vivid and lifelike. There was no difference between her and a real dragon. All things transform into dragon can only be maintained for an hour, but it's enough. Chu Fengmian said calmly. Let's go. We can avoid the pursuit of the demonic beasts and go back directly. When Sikong Xian opens the cave, we will attack and kill them. Chu Fengmian's words were filled with endless killing intent. He had disguised himself for a long time to complete this plan. There was still a restriction in front of Dragon Emperor Yangu's cave. It should be only Sikong Xian who could break it. Therefore, Chu Fengmian deliberately put on such a show to make Sikong Xian and the others think that Chu Fengmian was dead. When Sikong Xian opened the cave, Chu Fengmian would attack, kill them and enter the cave. So, this is all part of your plan? Bai Xian was slightly stunned after hearing Chu Fengmian's words. She did not expect Chu Fengmian to be so calculative. He had planned everything from the beginning. Chu Fengmian harumphed coldly. That's right. Otherwise, why would I compromise with these trash and listen to their orders? I can kill these people as easily as killing pigs and dogs. Looks like you're more terrifying than Hanueli, Bai Xian said slowly. This Sikong Xian actually schemed against you. What a fool. It's wise of me to choose to cooperate with you. Bai Xian's words were filled with killing intent when she mentioned Sikong Xian. Let's go and have a look. Chu Fengmian said. His figure moved and he and Bai Xian flew towards Dragon Emperor Yangu's cave in the middle of the forest like two real dragons. Sikong Xian and the others had already passed through the forest and arrived at Dragon Emperor Yangu's cave. Most of the demonic beasts in the forest had been lured away by Chu Fengmian. The remaining ones were easily killed by them. Most of the demonic beasts in the surroundings have been lured away. The remaining weak ones are not even at the life and death realm. There's nothing to be afraid of. Young Master Yin swept his gaze over the forest and said with a smile. Today's 5 chapters, plus 1 more. Chapter 5:11. Alright, now that there are no beasts guarding us, let's open the cave and enter. Sikong Xian scanned his surroundings and made a prompt decision. He immediately faced the entrance of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave and started chanting. The ancient voice contained endless secrets. Even Chu Fengmian could not understand the secrets of the language. Roar! A dragon's roar suddenly echoed. As Sikong Xian was chanting, a real dragon appeared abruptly. Following the dragon's roar, the forbidding aura in front of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave was completely shattered, and the entrance slowly opened. Behind the entrance, there was an extremely deep abyss. Chu Fengmian could feel the blood in his body boiling the moment the entrance was opened. It was as if there was something inside that was attracting Chu Fengmian, causing his blood to boil. What exactly is inside Dragon Emperor Yan's cave? Why is my bloodline so thirsty for it? Chu Fengmian's heart shuddered. He was extremely shocked. His battle dragon bloodline was not interested in most of the rare items in the world. Only rare items like the dragon pill and the heavenly origin godly pill could slightly arouse his desire. However, as the entrance was opened, Chu Fengmian could feel the thirst of his bloodline. There must be something inside Dragon Emperor Yan's cave that was extremely useful to Chu Fengmian's bloodline. That was why Chu Fengmian's bloodline was so thirsty for it. They're going in. Let's go. Chu Fengmian's figure moved and concealed himself as he approached the entrance. Xikong Xian's face was filled with joy as he opened the entrance of the cave. Let's go in. Saying this, Xikong Xian's figure moved and was about to step into the cave. However, as soon as Xikong Xian's foot moved, a giant figure suddenly appeared. Chu Fengmian's figure had silently approached the four of them. As soon as the cave was opened, Chu Fengmian suddenly appeared. The ancient battle dragon's blood essence was completely condensed. Boom! A giant claw of the battle dragon suddenly descended from the sky. It was as if a real dragon had suddenly appeared and lashed out with its claw. Chu Fengmian didn't hold back at all in this claw attack. It was simply his full strength. Even a life and death realm martial artist would be killed instantly. What happened? Where did this attack come from? Dragon Clan martial technique? Xikong Xian and young Master Yun were the first to react. Facing the battle dragon's claw, their spiritual energy erupted abruptly. With the two of them working together, they gathered their spiritual energy and suddenly formed a huge formation around them, completely enveloping the four of them. The remaining two, Lin Mu and Luochen, were stunned for a moment, but they quickly reacted and inserted their qi into the formation. The four of them combined their strength and activated the formation, encapsulating them within it. Let's stop him first. Let's hurry into the cave. Xikong Xian shouted as he defended himself. However, in the next moment, a mocking voice suddenly sounded. You want to stop me with a mere formation? Break for me. All of a sudden, Chu Fengmian's figure recovered and returned to his original appearance. His disheveled appearance was swept away and a cold smile appeared on his face. Chu Fengmian gathered his energy and waved his hand. The battle dragon's claw descended once again. Rumble. Under a huge rumble, the formation that the four of them had gathered their spiritual energy together suddenly cracked under the bombardment of the battle dragon's claw. It turned into countless cracks. In the next moment, it completely exploded, turning into balls of spiritual energy and completely shattering. What? Chu Fengmian, it's you? Xikong Xian retreated a few steps, some blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Chu Fengmian with eyes full of disbelief. You're not dead. How did you escape from the hands of the demonic beast? No, you're not injured at all. Xikong Xian saw Chu Fengmian's sudden appearance as if he had seen a ghost. Originally, when Chu Fengmian went to lure the demonic beast away, his aura had disappeared. In his opinion, Chu Fengmian must have died in the hands of the demonic beast. However, Chu Fengmian's sudden appearance and claw actually broke the formation that the four of them had set up together. He didn't look like he was injured at all. Xikong Xian had schemed for a long time to play a small character like Chu Fengmian in the palm of his hand. However, he didn't expect this small character to completely destroy his plan. Die? Do you really think that your little scheme can hide from my eyes? Chu Fengmian looked at Xikong Xian as if he was looking at a dead person. I'm just luring the demonic beast away on purpose so that you can open the cave dwelling's restriction. Now that the cave dwelling has been opened, there's no point for you to continue living. Chu Fengmian suddenly opened his mouth. Today, all four of you must die. As he spoke, the aura on Chu Fengmian's body was already rising steadily. He didn't need to hide anything now. The power of the battle dragon technique was pushed to the extreme. This was the first time he was ready to show his true strength after breaking through to the divine power realm. Arrogant and conceited brat, do you think you can overturn the heavens by hiding some of your strength? Young Master Yun looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered. Today, there are four of us, and you're alone. You're just courting death by appearing rashly. Xikong Xian's face also revealed a mocking expression. Chu Fengmian, if you continued to hide and secretly followed us into Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, we might not have been able to do anything. However, you're so stupid today. You actually swaggered in. Do you really think you can defeat us? Now that you've come out, you're just courting death. Lin Mu and Luo Chen's faces also revealed a smile. So what if he hid his strength? So what if he saw through their scheme? 1 against 4, even if some life and death experts came, they would still die in the hands of the 4 of them. Luo Chen, in particular, laughed out loud. Chu Fengmian, I thought you died in the mouth of the demonic beast. I didn't expect you to survive. Just as well, I won't kill you personally. It's really hard to resolve the hatred in my heart. I'll kill you. I'll chop off your head and send it to Yi Tianjun. Yi Tianjun will definitely reward me. Don't talk nonsense with this person. Let's deal with him first, then we can explore Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Xikong Xian let out a long roar and suddenly pulled out the long sword in his hand. The sword's edge was sharp as it suddenly pierced towards Chu Fengmian. Thank you for the reward from the kitchen knife gang's leader. Chapter 512. Xikong Xian unsheathed his sword, and a sword light as thick as a person emerged. Suddenly, it slashed towards Chu Fengmian. The Xikong family was originally a martial arts family that specialized in the way of the sword. His bloodline contained this extremely powerful sword intent. Not to mention, Xikong Xian was originally a genius, and his comprehension of sword Dao was extremely deep. Chu Fengmian sensed that within this sword light, there were no less than 1,000 sword lights converging together. A single sword contained the power of 1,000 sword lights, and a terrifying sword intent of 1,000 sword lights. Chu Fengmian, you're very smart. You can even hide from my plan, but you're still too stupid. With your strength, so what if you see through my plan? Today, you'll still die. Xikong Xian laughed loudly. The terrifying sword light suddenly attacked Chu Fengmian along with his sword light. Beside Chu Fengmian, Bai Xian also rushed over. Seeing Xikong Xian's attack, her expression became extremely solemn, and she warned. Be careful. Xikong Xian's sword Dao is famous in the vast northern region. His sword intent has reached the level of 1,000 sword lights. Bai Xian? You really didn't die. Seeing Bai Xian's appearance, Xikong Xian wasn't surprised at all. He suddenly laughed loudly. At first, I thought it would be a pity if you died in the hands of demonic beasts. You'd better come and be my woman. Today, I'll kill this kid first, and after the rice is cooked, I'll take you on the spot. Let's see how you resist. Xikong Xian laughed as the sword light slashed towards Chu Fengmian. You think you're qualified to play with swords in front of me? Chu Fengmian looked at the moment Xikong Xian attacked, and a disdainful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. You dare to be presumptuous with a mere final sword art? Die! Chu Fengmian's voice hadn't faded away when his hand slowly moved. He extended a finger and directly pointed at Xikong Xian's sword light. Is this kid crazy? Ha ha, it seems like this kid is completely crazy. He wants to catch Xikong Xian's sword with his bare hands? Even a life and death expert wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Luo Chen, Lin Mu, and the others were watching from the side, watching Chu Fengmian's actions. They wanted to laugh themselves to death. Catching a sword with one's bare hands was an extremely crazy thing to do, not to mention that this was Xikong Xian's sword. Xikong Xian's sword Dao was famous in the North region. He was definitely not an ordinary person. Even life and death experts would have to face his sword with all their strength. But now, Chu Fengmian was actually stretching out a single finger to resist this terrifying sword edge. It was simply laughable. Even Xikong Xian himself was shocked. Then, a mocking smile appeared on his face. He looked at Chu Fengmian with a gaze that said, "You're courting death." However, in the next moment, when the finger collided with the sword edge, the terrifying sword edge didn't tear Chu Fengmian apart as Xikong Xian had imagined. Instead, the two forces collided. Bang! With a clear and crisp sound. Xikong Xian's sword was actually broken. Countless cracks appeared, and in the next moment, they all shattered. Everyone present was dumbfounded. No one would have thought that the result would actually be like this. Xikong Xian's sword edge was as thick as a person and contained the power of 1,000 sword edges. It was such a terrifying sword strike. It was actually broken by Chu Fengmian's finger. With a light tap of his finger. Even Bai Xian, who was beside Chu Fengmian, was stunned. Previously, when Chu Fengmian said that killing Sikong Xian and the others would be as easy as slaughtering pigs and dogs, she still didn't believe it. Which of the 4 people present wasn't a little famous genius expert? They were somewhat famous in the North region. But now, when she saw Chu Fengmian actually break Sikong Xian's sword edge with a single finger, she was completely stunned. This kind of strength had already exceeded her understanding. This is impossible. Sikong Xian roared crazily. His face was already filled with madness. He was the clearest about his sword Dao. Sikong family itself was a martial arts family. It could be said that anyone in Sikong family was an expert in sword Dao. And he was a well-known figure in Sikong family, a genius of Sikong family. His sword Dao, in the eyes of many life and death experts, had already reached an unfathomable level. Even life and death experts couldn't easily resist it. His sword Dao represented his dignity and pride. But now, his dignity and pride were completely trampled under Chu Fengmian's finger. You think you deserve to be called a sword cultivator? In front of me, no one dares to play with the sword. Chu Fengmian took a large step forward and called out in his mind. The scarlet flame sword suddenly appeared in his hand. I should let you experience what a true sword Dao is. The moment Chu Fengmian opened his mouth, his temperament completely changed. A sharp sword intent revolved around Chu Fengmian's body and condensed at the tip of his sword. One sword 10,000 layers. The sword in Chu Fengmian's hand slowly moved. This sword seemed slow. However, the entire surrounding space was suddenly filled with countless terrifying sword edges under this one sword strike. The entire space seemed to have turned into a world of swords. What kind of sword intent is this? How can it be so powerful? Sikong Xian looked at Chu Fengmian's sword intent and was about to go crazy. His eyes were wide open, not daring to believe his own eyes. This sword intent far surpassed his. In this vast north region, he had never heard of anyone with such a sword intent. Kacha! The sword in Sikong Xian's hand was directly destroyed by Chu Fengmian's sword edge. The enormous sword intent swept down, wanting to defeat Sikong Xian. Not good, this person's sword intent is even stronger than Brother Sikong's. Let's attack together and lend Brother Sikong a hand. So what if his sword Dao is powerful? He's only at the 4th level of Divine Power Realm. I don't believe that a brat at the 4th level of Divine Power Realm can fight against the 4 of us. Young Master Yun, Luo Chen, and Lin Mu attacked at the same time. Young Master Yun's attack was extremely mysterious. Suddenly, he took out a fan. The moment he waved the fan, the spiritual energy of the 5 elements condensed. The 5 elements combined and complemented each other. It was like Tuoba Ding's 5 wheels secret skill, but it was much more mysterious than the 5 wheels secret skill. It turned into a powerful martial technique and attacked Chu Fengmian. At the same time, Luo Chen and Lin Mu also attacked. On Luo Chen's body, the power of the saint's seed in his body was pushed to the extreme. Streaks of chaotic divine power condensed into a chaotic divine fist and attacked Chu Fengmian. Lin Mu also waved his hand and condensed countless water vapor into a water spear. The water vapor that he condensed was much harder than steel. The 4 of us are all geniuses. I don't believe that you can fight against the 4 of us alone. Chapter 5:13. The remaining 3 people on the scene attacked at the same time. In order to deal with Chu Fengmian, the 3 of them had already abandoned their pride as geniuses and joined hands to deal with him. The power of countless martial skills gathered together. The terrifying power was enough to drown and crush any expert. Not good. Retreat. Let's avoid them first. Bai Xian said with a pale face. The power of 3 geniuses joining hands was simply earth-shattering. No one could face it head-on. Retreat? The corner of Chu Fengmian's mouth curled into a cold smile. Why should I retreat? I've said it before. If I want to kill these 4, it'll be as easy as slaughtering chickens and dogs. A bunch of ants trying to overturn the heavens by joining hands? As Chu Fengmian spoke, his body moved. He didn't dodge, and with a slight movement of his feet, he took a step forward with his sword in hand. Slaughter Sword Dao. Slaughter God descends. Behind Chu Fengmian, boundless killing intent suddenly condensed, turning into an ancient slaughter god that suddenly descended. The moment this ancient slaughter god descended, the terrifying blood qi contained within also condensed on Chu Fengmian's sword. In an instant, the slaughter sword had already been slashed out. A 10,000 Jianwang blood scar exploded in the sky. Under the boundless blood qi, the martial skills of the three were almost devoured. Not a single power could escape the devouring of the blood qi. Within the boundless blood qi, Chu Fengmian was like an invincible existence. Boom! A huge wave of spiritual power collided and clashed. The three were defeated in an instant. Young Master Yun, Lin Mu, and Luochen were sent flying at almost the same time. Lin Mu and Luochen fell to the ground, their blood qi exploding as they died on the spot. This is impossible. Young Master Yun was the only one who could barely stand. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The three of them were defeated even after joining hands. Only experts at the 4th or 5th level of life and death realm could do this. Now, Chu Fengmian was only at the 4th level of divine power realm. How could he believe this? Chu Fengmian's strength seemed to have taken a qualitative leap after breaking through the divine power realm. Divine power realm geniuses, no matter how monstrous they were no different from pigs and dogs in Chu Fengmian's eyes. With a thought, Chu Fengmian's blood qi was directly devoured by Luochen and Lin Mu. Although the two were only at the 9th level of divine power realm, their blood qi wasn't any weaker than a 2nd or 3rd level life and death realm expert. After all, they were all geniuses. It was unknown how many fortuitous encounters they had encountered. These encounters had all been left in their power. Now, with the blood qi in Luochen, Luochen's. These two people died just like that? Bai Xian, who was watching from the side, could not believe what she was seeing. Both Lin Mu and Luochen were influential figures in the inner court of the Northern Mang Academy. In the future, they would definitely become seed disciples. Yet, he was killed by Chu Fengmian's sword just like that. With Luo. These people dared to scheme against me. Their deaths are predestined. Chu Fengmian said coldly. His gaze shifted to young Master Yun. Young Master Yun was actually able to resist Chu Fengmian's sword. This made Chu Fengmian a little surprised. Oh? Chu Fengmian looked at young Master Yun. He could tell that young Master Yun wasn't able to resist the power of the sword because of his strength. Instead, it was because the majority of the sword's power was blocked by the 5-colored feather fan in young Master Yun's hand. This feather fan is pretty good. It's refined from the feather of the divine sparrow. It's a bit of a waste to leave it in your hands. Take it. Chu Fengmian looked at young Master Yun. Suddenly, he waved his hand and grabbed the feather fan in young Master Yun's hand. Divine feather. Young Master Yun saw Chu Fengmian's big hand breaking through the air and grabbing at the fan. Young Master Yun retreated continuously and fanned the divine sparrow feather fan. Immediately, the 5 elemental spiritual energy condensed and struck at Chu Fengmian's palm. However, these countless martial skills were actually unable to leave the slightest trace of injury on Chu Fengmian's hand when they struck it. Chu Fengmian's spiritual energy moved. With a shake of his hand, the 5 elemental spiritual energy on the fan dissipated completely. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's hand reached for the divine sparrow feather fan. Damn it! Young Master Yun held the divine sparrow feather fan tightly and frantically resisted Chu Fengmian's power. The divine sparrow feather fan was his only trump card against Chu Fengmian. He relied on the divine sparrow feather fan to resist the sword. If he lost the divine sparrow feather fan, he would lose all qualifications to fight against Chu Fengmian. Give it to me. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly and increased the power in his hand. Under this power, young Master Yun couldn't resist at all. The divine sparrow feather fan flew out of young Master Yun's hand and into Chu Fengmian's hand. Not bad. This divine sparrow feather fan is the most powerful spiritual artifact below the heaven grade. Chu Fengmian sized up the divine sparrow feather fan and tossed it to Bai Xian. With your strength, you still lack a suitable weapon. This divine sparrow feather fan is for you. For me? Bai Xian caught the divine sparrow feather fan and was slightly taken aback. She had heard of the divine sparrow feather fan before. It was one of the most precious treasures of the Xikong family. Xikong Xian was the cream of the crop among the younger generation of the Xikong family. That was why the Xikong family gave him the divine sparrow feather fan to protect himself. She didn't expect Chu Fengmian to give it to her. Take this divine vermilion feather fan as repayment for the 10,000 contribution points I owe you. Chu Fengmian looked at Bai Xian and said with a smile. Although the divine sparrow feather fan was good, Chu Fengmian had the emperor jar and the abundant lush monument. Even Chu Fengmian's scarlet flame sword wasn't inferior to the divine sparrow feather fan. There was no point for Chu Fengmian to keep it. Chu Fengmian wasn't someone who liked to owe others favors. He might as well give it to Bai Xian. Lending these 10,000 merit points to you is a great bargain for me. Bai Xian had been through countless trials and tribulations. When she heard Chu Fengmian's words, she naturally understood that Chu Fengmian didn't want to owe her a favor. She immediately put the divine sparrow feather fan away. The divine sparrow feather fan might not even be worth 100,000 merit points in the North Sea Academy. Giving it to Bai Xian would be enough to increase her strength by leaps and bounds. While Chu Fengmian was talking, young Master Yun secretly swallowed a pill to recover his spirit power. He suddenly rose to his feet and transformed into a streak of light, planning to escape. Chapter 514. Trying to escape? Chu Fengmian snorted. With a wave of his hand, he tore through the air and grabbed at young Master Yun. Young Master Yun's little trick could not escape Chu Fengmian's eyes. Today, all four of you will die. No one will leave this place alive. Chu Fengmian made a grabbing motion in the air, and young Master Yun was pinched in his palm. Let me go. You dare to kill me? I am from the Southern Region Imperial family. Our Southern Region Imperial family has countless experts. If you dare to kill me, the experts of the Southern Region Imperial family will find you and kill you to avenge me. Young Master Yun roared. If you dare to kill me, you will die too. You will die with me. Oh no! Bai Xian's face stiffened when she heard young Master Yun's words. Young Master Yun has a strong background. If we kill him today, we will be hunted down by the Southern Region Imperial family. What should we do? Bai Xian's face showed that she was in a difficult position. Lin Mu and Luo Chen were both disciples of the Northern Sea Academy. However, they were not the disciples of the elders. If they died, they would die. No one would spend the effort to calculate how they died. However, young Master Yun was different. He was a disciple of the Southern Region Imperial family. If they killed him, the Southern Region Imperial family would be enraged. The Southern Region Imperial family's power was comparable to that of the Northern Sea Academy. If Chu Fengmian really killed young Master Yun, the experts of the Southern Region Imperial family would find out. Both Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian would be hunted down by the Southern Region Imperial family. However, even if they let young Master Yun go, they would have a grudge against him. Even if he released young Master Yun, with his character, he would not let the matter rest. This sudden conundrum left Bai Xian at a loss for what to do. Ha ha ha, Chu Fengmian, Bai Xian, the two of you don't dare to kill me, right? If you do, both of you will die with me. Hearing Bai Xian's words and her troubled expression, young Master Yun suddenly became arrogant and laughed loudly. If you dare to kill me, you will die even if you hide in the Northern Sea Academy. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, you will still be hunted down. Let me go now. Kneel down and be my slaves. Maybe I'll be in a good mood and spare you. How about that? Kill me if you can. Young Master Yun's arrogance flared up. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, his voice suddenly disappeared. Idiot. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. With a thought, young Master Yun was crushed to death in his hands. Chu Fengmian devoured countless drops of blood essence and merged them with the ancient god of slaughter behind him. Chu Fengmian, you, seeing Chu Fengmian squash young Master Yun to death, Bai Xian was shocked and broke out in cold sweat. She did not want to die. Being hunted down by the southern region royal family was no different from dying. It doesn't matter. If we kill him, so be it. Even if we don't kill him, he will still find people to hunt us down. Chu Fengmian's expression was calm as usual. What's more, even if we kill him, no one will be able to find out. I have a way to deal with them. In the southern region, there were countless jade talismans hanging in a huge palace. The energy within these jade talismans was extremely mysterious. Suddenly, one of the jade talismans broke apart. Someone's token is shattered. Find out whose token it is. In the palace, a few old men's eyes were filled with killing intent. Who dares to kill a member of the southern region royal family? It's Nan Yun. Countless panicked voices rang out in the palace. Nan Yun? Find out. Secret divination technique. Water mirror Dao. Find out who dares to kill a member of the southern region royal family. The three old men started to make their divination. A water mirror suddenly appeared. At the same time, a huge eyeball suddenly appeared above Chu Fengmian. The moment Bai Xian saw the eyeball, her face turned pale. She knew that there was an elite trying to divine their whereabouts. If the elite of the southern region royal family managed to divine that the two of them had killed young Master Yun, they would be hunted down endlessly by the southern region royal family. Humph! Chu Fengmian looked at the eyeball that suddenly appeared in the sky. Suddenly, his body moved and he transformed into the ancient war dragon. With a roar, a huge war dragon claw appeared. Boom! The war dragon claw pierced into the huge eyeball. Instantly, the huge eyeball was torn apart by Chu Fengmian's strength. Boom! On the other side, the water mirror in front of the enormous palace had just formed when an incomparably huge figure smashed the water mirror into smithereens. The atmosphere in the palace was extremely tense. The few old men fell silent. The killing intent in their eyes had weakened significantly. It's the dragon tribe. Although I can't see it clearly, it's the purest dragon energy. Nan Yun died at the hands of the dragon tribe. The few old men fell silent. Since Nan Yun had died, the southern region royal family would not sit still. No matter who had killed Nan Yun, they would hunt him down and take revenge. However, it showed that it was the dragon tribe. Although the dragon tribe rarely appeared in the 9 regions, the terror of the dragon tribe had always been recorded in the ancient books. Even the 7 major sects did not dare to go to war with the dragon tribe, let alone the southern region royal family. What should we do? We can't afford to offend the dragon tribe. The dragon tribe is so protective of their people. If we kill their people, we'll be finished. The few old men looked at each other. One could see the helplessness in each of their voices. The entire southern region might not be able to go against the dragon tribe. Nan Yun has actually offended the dragon tribe. In the end, one of the old men said slowly, "Forget it. Let's just say that Nan Yun died in a dangerous place. It's not worth it to offend the dragon tribe for Nan Yun." The other old men nodded in agreement. Just like that, the matter was quietly suppressed. On the other side, Chu Fengmian was satisfied with what he had done. Now that he had activated his war dragon bloodline, his aura was no different from that of a real dragon. His martial skill was also from the dragon tribe, and his strength was the dragon energy. Now that Chu Fengmian had blamed the dragon tribe for young Master Yun's death, he wanted to see if the southern region royal family would dare to offend the dragon tribe. Chapter 5:15. The southern region royal family's divination was fooled just like that. Sikong Xian, who was lying on the ground, could not believe it. One of the most important life-saving methods that the disciples of the major factions relied on was the ability to divine the past. Once they fell, the experts of their families would divine it to find the culprit and hunt them down. Because of this, the families behind them were their trump cards. No matter how strong the experts were, they would not dare to provoke such a powerful entity. That was why they were fearless. But now, the southern region royal family's divination was easily diverted by Chu Fengmian. This was terrifying. Chu Fengmian had transformed into an ancient war dragon. His aura was no different from a real dragon. No matter who Chu Fengmian killed, he could divert the calamity to the dragon tribe. Si Kongxian wanted to use this to threaten Chu Fengmian, but seeing young Master Yun die in Chu Fengmian's hands, Si Kongxian's heart was filled with fear. When did such a monstrous talent appear in the North region? Is this really something a 4th-level divine power realm martial artist can do? This technique caused Si Kongxian's body to tremble uncontrollably. Chu Fengmian, please let me go. I promise I won't tell anyone about what happened today. The treasures in the ancient Yan Dragon Emperor Cave are all yours as long as you let me go. Si Kongxian knelt in front of Chu Fengmian and begged loudly. Bai Xian saw Si Kongxian's actions inside. In the face of death, even a genius like Si Kongxian did not care about his dignity and knelt down to beg for mercy. In fact, the more a genius like Si Kongxian was, the more afraid they were of death. They were talented and had unlimited potential in the future. No one wanted to die early. Let you go? What a joke. Today, the 4 of you are going to die. You can join them as well. Chu Fengmian glanced at Si Kongxian and sneered. With a squeeze of his hand, Si Kongxian died in Chu Fengmian's hands. Bang! Si Kongxian's vitality was devoured by Chu Fengmian. If Si Kongxian had some backbone and was willing to die, Chu Fengmian might have had the mood to keep him alive and subdue him. Now, in order to live, Si Kongxian had directly knelt down, forsaking his dignity, and was willing to beg for mercy. Chu Fengmian despised people like him the most. In his previous life, Chu Fengmian was powerless. Under the coercion of the 7 major sects, he was unwilling to beg for mercy and would rather commit suicide. A person without dignity like this didn't even have the right to be Chu Fengmian's slave. Si Kongxian is dead. The Si Kong family will definitely not let the matter rest. Young Master Yun is just an unfavored prince in the southern region imperial family. So what if he dies? Bai Xian warned after seeing Chu Fengmian kill Si Kongxian. However, Si Kongxian is the #1 genius of the Si Kong clan's younger generation. Now that you've killed him, the Si Kong clan will definitely not let this matter rest. With the Si Kong clan's methods, it won't be difficult to investigate what happened today. You must be careful. Chu Fengmian coldly snorted and said. His expression was incomparably relaxed. It doesn't matter. Si Kongxian must die. If the Si Kong clan wants to investigate what happened today, they won't be able to do it in a day. As long as I have some time, the Si Kong clan will be nothing. Whoever dares to come for revenge will die. As long as I have enough strength, the Si Kong clan will be nothing. If the Si Kong clan dares to come looking for trouble, I'll destroy them sooner or later. Chu Fengmian coldly snorted. His strength was already enough to contend against some 4th or 5th level life and death realm experts. As long as Chu Fengmian's strength took another step forward, he would be able to contend against those high-level life and death realm experts. At that time, it wouldn't be easy for the Si Kong clan to deal with Chu Fengmian. High-level life and death realm experts were elders with extremely high positions in the North Sea Academy. As for those above life and death realm, they were all old antiques who didn't care about worldly affairs. As long as one had the strength of a high-level life and death realm expert, they would be able to stand tall in the northern region. No one would dare to look down on them. Let's go to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave first. Chu Fengmian directly said. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Right now, the most important thing was to increase his strength. As long as he had enough strength, not to mention going against the Si Kong clan, even destroying them wouldn't be a problem. There must be something in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave that was of great use to Chu Fengmian. Otherwise, his bloodline wouldn't be so eager. Chu Fengmian had to get this thing. Rumble. Suddenly, another sound was heard from outside. Then, countless auras appeared. Ha ha, there's indeed another world inside this cave. It's actually a small world. I wonder what kind of treasure is inside. Countless figures suddenly poured into this small world. Many of these people were dressed in red, and each of them was covered in demonic qi. It's the Earth Demon Sex people. Bai Xian saw these figures that suddenly appeared, and her face suddenly changed. Especially when she looked at them one by one, her face changed greatly. Young Master White Bone. War Demon Sovereign. Saint Sun Gu. Bloodthirsty Demon Sovereign. Every time a name was called, Bai Xian's face became paler. These are the genius disciples of the Earth Demon sect. Their strength is not lower than the inner disciples of our North Sea Academy. Some of them are even comparable to the strength of a seed disciple. How did these Earth Demon sex people find this place? It seems that Xikong Xian isn't the only one who knows about Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. There are also people from the Earth Demon sect who know about this. Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered as he looked at these Earth Demon sect's disciples who suddenly appeared. Their strength was not inferior to Xikong Xian and the others. Even with a glance, Chu Fengmian could tell that a few of them were much stronger than Xikong Xian and the others. There were more than 10 Earth Demon sect's disciples, and they suddenly poured in. That wasn't all. At the entrance, a surge of spiritual energy suddenly burst out. Life and Death Realm. The moment she saw this demonic qi, Bai Xian's voice trembled slightly. The person who came this time was actually a life and death realm expert from the Earth Demon sect. This was a man with an eagle nose, and his whole body was filled with a monstrous demonic qi. It could be said that he was an extremely terrifying person. This is the Undying Demon Sovereign. A big shot in the Earth Demon sect. An invincible 6th level life and death realm expert, such an old antique, actually appeared. Bai Xian saw the man with an eagle nose and said loudly. Her tone was full of disbelief. Chapter 5:16. Chu Fengmian's eyes also landed on the Undying Demon Venerable mentioned by Bai Xian, a 6th level life and death expert. A 6th level life and death expert was definitely a big shot even in the Earth Demon sect. With his strength, he could easily crush Chu Fengmian. Waves of frightening demonic intent filled the surroundings. Such a big shot would normally be in seclusion and wouldn't appear. It seemed like the Earth Demon sect also had their eyes on Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. They actually wanted such a big shot to come out and seize the treasures inside. Let's go! Chu Fengmian glanced at the Undying Demon Venerable. He grabbed Bai Xian and directly entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. Chu Fengmian might be able to deal with the other Earth Demon sect's disciples, but facing the Undying Demon Venerable, only death would await him. The treasures inside Dragon Emperor Yan's cave were extremely important to Chu Fengmian. He had to obtain them today. Chu Fengmian had to find the treasures inside before the Earth Demon sect's people entered the cave. Someone's here? Someone's in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. The moment Chu Fengmian noticed the Earth Demon sect's disciples, they also noticed Chu Fengmian's presence. The Undying Demon Venerable seemed to have also noticed Chu Fengmian's presence. The moment Chu Fengmian was about to enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave, he glanced over. This glance contained a supreme sure-kill technique, which shook Chu Fengmian's mind and made him dizzy. Sky-devouring godly python. Devouring demonic intent. Chu Fengmian hurriedly urged his sword intent, turning it into a sky-devouring godly python and fusing with his body. Immediately, the demonic intent in Chu Fengmian's body was devoured by the sky-devouring godly python. Chu Fengmian's crisis was immediately resolved. Let's go! Chu Fengmian took Bai Xian and rushed into Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode the moment the demonic intent was neutralized. High-level life and death experts are indeed frightening. Chu Fengmian heaved a sigh of relief after entering Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave dwelling. The 6th level of life and death realm was equivalent to entering the upper levels of life and death realm. The 6th level of life and death realm was a threshold, and one's strength and status would instantly change. A 6th level life and death expert was someone even a colossus like the North Mang Academy would have to treat with respect and try to rope in. This undying demon venerable is really terrifying. What should we do? Do you want to contact the experts from the North Sea Academy? Bai Xian could not help but ask. The undying devil venerable was no longer someone they could deal with. Only the big shots of the Beimang Academy could contend against him. No, the people from the North Mang College are here. Neither of us can get the treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. Chu Fengmian shook his head. He extended his spiritual awareness to the outside and found that more and more people were pouring into this small world. It seemed like the news of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling had spread like wildfire. Many martial artists had heard the news and were pouring in. In just a few minutes, more than 100 martial artists had poured in. This was not a large number. Let's go. It's a mess outside. We might have a chance to get the treasures in this chaos. Chu Fengmian said and led Bai Xian into the depths of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. The cave dwelling of Dragon Emperor Yan Gu looked like an extremely deep maze. There were countless forks in the maze, and no one knew which one was the true path. This way. Chu Fengmian led Bai Xian forward rapidly. His route was guided by the battle dragon bloodline in his body. If the battle dragon bloodline was so eager, it must be the true treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Chu Fengmian spread out his spiritual awareness as he moved forward. More than 100 martial artists had already entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. However, Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling was incomparably huge. It was not easy for everyone to find it. Everyone's route was different. Why is the spiritual qi in this cave dwelling so dense? Chu Fengmian observed the situation in the cave dwelling and suddenly frowned. The spiritual qi in this cave dwelling was indeed extremely dense. It was comparable to the spiritual qi in the sacred mountain. One should know that the sacred mountain was directly connected to a spiritual spring. That was why there was such dense spiritual qi. Could it be that there was a spiritual spring in this cave dwelling as well? Thinking of this, Chu Fengmian's heart was filled with joy. The amount of spiritual qi in a spiritual spring was probably limitless. If he could really get a spiritual spring, then Chu Fengmian would have endless wealth. He would also be able to continuously gather ancient battle dragon blood essence. It would be enough to raise his battle dragon skill to a new level. Let's look around first. Chu Fengmian made a prompt decision. He scanned the surroundings and his body flashed continuously. Soon, he arrived at the end of a tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, there was a huge colorless crystal. King-grade spiritual stone. This is a king-grade spiritual stone. What a huge piece! The moment Bai Xian saw the colorless crystal, she was stunned. Then, she asked in disbelief. The colorless crystal was as tall as a person. It was actually a whole king-grade spiritual stone. One should know that Bai Xian was lucky enough to get a small piece. She didn't expect to find such a huge piece. This king-grade spiritual stone was equivalent to at least 500 king-grade spiritual stones after being cut. What kind of concept was 500 king-grade spiritual stones? Even some of the North Sea Academy's seed disciples didn't have such wealth. With such a huge amount of wealth, Bai Xian's strength would improve a lot. It could even help her enter the life and death realm. Quickly, collect it. Bai Xian couldn't resist the temptation. She gathered her spiritual qi and wanted to collect the king-grade spiritual stone. Wait. Chu Fengmian stopped Bai Xian and pointed at the king-grade spiritual stone. Look above. Bai Xian looked in the direction Chu Fengmian was pointing at and saw that the surface of the king-grade spirit stone was covered with countless restrictions. These seals were filled with dragon power. Once touched, one would suffer a backlash. If it was light, one would be seriously injured. If it was heavy, one would die. Damn it! Bai Xian hurriedly withdrew her spiritual qi. Her eyes were full of anger. Someone actually placed a restriction on the Spirit Stone. Who did this? It should be Dragon Emperor Yan Gu. Chu Fengmian looked at the seals on the King-grade spiritual stone and said thoughtfully, "Let me try and see if I can break the restriction on this." Chapter 5:17. Be careful. Bai Xian kindly reminded as she took a few steps back. The power of the seal made her feel a little afraid. Bai Xian felt that if she dared to take it without permission, the seal's power would be enough to destroy her. Chu Fengmian's face also turned serious. Chu Fengmian slowly stretched out his right hand and grabbed at the King-grade Spirit Stone. The moment he got close to the King-grade Spirit Stone, the seal on the King-grade Spirit Stone suddenly flashed, as if the power within was showing itself. Chu Fengmian knew that this was a warning. However, Chu Fengmian did not mind at all. He secretly activated the power of the Battle Dragon art in his heart. The power of the ancient Battle Dragon's blood essence in his bloodline was completely gathered, causing his right hand to turn into a Battle Dragon claw. The moment the Battle Dragon claw appeared, the seal on the King-grade Spirit Stone gradually calmed down. As expected. Seeing this scene, Chu Fengmian nodded inwardly. His right hand slowly grabbed at the King-grade Spirit Stone, and the seal on the King-grade Spirit Stone suddenly shattered before the Battle Dragon claw. The King-grade Spirit Stone fell into Chu Fengmian's hand and was stored in his spatial ring. This? How did you do it? Bai Xian's face was filled with disbelief when she saw Chu Fengmian easily take the King-grade Spirit Stone. The seal on the King-grade Spirit Stone was enough to easily destroy a life and death realm martial artist. But now, Chu Fengmian had easily neutralized it. It's just the power of bloodline. Dragon Emperor Yan deliberately left this cave dwelling behind. This King-grade Spirit Stone should also be left behind by him. Chu Fengmian heard Bai Xian's surprise and said with a smile. The seal on the King-grade Spirit Stone is only effective against the foreign races. It's ineffective against the dragon race. I had a fortuitous encounter and possessed the dragon race's bloodline. Therefore, the seal is ineffective against me. Chu Fengmian didn't hide anything and calmly explained. Rather than saying that Dragon Emperor Yan left this cave dwelling behind by chance, it was more accurate to say that Dragon Emperor Yan deliberately left it behind. The restriction on the King-grade Spirit Stone was only effective against foreign races. It had no effect on beings with the dragon tribe's bloodline. It was just that the requirements for the bloodline were extremely high. According to Chu Fengmian's estimation, some martial artists with the Dragon Clan's bloodline would not be able to meet the requirements. Only Chu Fengmian cultivated the Battle Dragon art. His bloodline was not an ordinary true dragon bloodline, but the bloodline of an ancient battle dragon. That was why he could easily meet the requirements and break the restriction on it. So that's how it is. Hearing Chu Fengmian's explanation, Bai Xian suddenly thought of something and said loudly, "If that's the case, does that mean the treasures in the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode are all sealed? It should be good." Chu Fengmian nodded. However, the seal on it won't be able to stop others. For example, the Undying Demon Exalted. If he's willing to spend some energy, it shouldn't be a problem for him to break the seal on it. The disciples of the Earth Demon sect can also break the seal if they join forces. Let's hurry up and collect more treasures. Chu Fengmian said. Without hesitation, he led Bai Xian and continued to use their spiritual senses to explore and collect the countless treasures in the cave. King-grade spiritual stones, countless spiritual weapons, and high-grade elixirs were all collected by Chu Fengmian. Looking at each item that Chu Fengmian collected, Bai Xian exclaimed, "Any one of the treasures in the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode would be sold for a sky-high price outside." After all, the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch was once one of the top figures in the 9 regions. If the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch was reborn, it wouldn't be a problem for him to sweep across the North region. How could the treasures he left behind be few? The more treasures he collected, the more Chu Fengmian believed in his conjecture. the treasures in the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode were obviously left behind by the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode to be passed down to other experts of the Dragon Clan. However, an accident happened, and the cave abode was swept into the void ocean. It only appeared now, and Chu Fengmian took advantage of it. No matter what, I've struck gold this time. Chu Fengmian was overjoyed. In the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode, Chu Fengmian's bloodline power was unleashed to the extreme. The countless restrictions within posed no threat to Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian used a drop of his blood essence to disguise Bai Xian's aura as if she were a member of the dragon tribe. The two of them traveled freely in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Not a single restrictive spell could pose a threat to them. The ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode had been open for a day, and more than 100 martial artists had fallen in it. The ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode was in the void ocean. Those who could come here were all peak saints. In a day, more than 100 of them had fallen. However, this didn't stop the enthusiasm of countless martial artists. On the contrary, more and more martial artists came to explore the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode. Chu Fengmian took a quick look. There were at least 1,000 people in the cave abode. Among them, the disciples of the Northern Sea Academy and the Earth Demon sect had also joined in. There were also many neighboring forces, such as the Southern Region royal family, that had joined in. The temptation of the treasures in the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode was enough to attract countless martial artists like moths to a flame. For example, the Royal Grade Spirit Stone that Chu Fengmian had casually obtained was a shocking amount of wealth. It was more than what they had accumulated in their lifetime. That was why so many people were willing to take the risk. In a day, more than half of the treasures in the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode have been collected. Chu Fengmian obtained another Earth-grade spiritual elixir. He put it into his mouth and refined it. Then, Chu Fengmian looked around. Fortunately, we are already in the inner part of the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode. There shouldn't be many martial artists coming in. But where is the last treasure? Chu Fengmian had been following the guidance of his bloodline. However, the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch Cave Abode was much bigger than he had imagined. After a day, Chu Fengmian still hadn't reached the end. What a rich spiritual energy! Suddenly, Chu Fengmian stopped in front of a fork in the road. He looked around and found that there was a lot of pure spiritual energy in the surroundings. In a day, Chu Fengmian had learned that there was a treasure nearby. Chu Fengmian followed his spiritual consciousness and walked over. He saw a huge spiritual stone that was as tall as a man. However, this spiritual stone was extremely transparent. It was almost colorless. He could see that there were emerald green lines on it. Royal Grade Spiritual Jade. Chapter 518. Bai Xian's eyes widened in shock when she saw the spiritual stone that was as tall as a man. Although she had seen many treasures with Chu Fengmian in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode, she was still shocked when she saw the spiritual stone. This spiritual stone was very similar to the king-grade spiritual stone that Chu Fengmian had obtained before. However, the spiritual energy on it was much purer. A royal-grade spiritual stone. The value of a royal-grade spiritual stone was equivalent to 5 king-grade spiritual stones of the same size. It could be said that this royal-grade spirit stone was 5 times more valuable than the king-grade spirit stone that Chu Fengmian had obtained. Moreover, the royal-grade spirit stone was a priceless item. Even if one spent a huge amount of money outside, one would still need to be lucky to obtain a piece of it. However, this royal-grade spiritual stone was as tall as a man. This royal-grade spiritual stone was much more valuable than any of the treasures that Chu Fengmian had obtained in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Spiritual stones were different from elixirs and spiritual weapons. They were hard currency. Royal-grade spiritual stones were very useful to martial artists of any level. As long as Chu Fengmian was willing to sell it, there would be countless experts fighting to buy it. He could exchange it for many rare treasures. Moreover, Chu Fengmian would benefit greatly from devouring the royal-grade spiritual stone. The spiritual energy within it was extremely pure and there were no impurities. Once devoured, it could be converted into one's own strength. It was one of the best rare treasures in the world. Chu Fengmian looked around and studied the seal on the royal grade spiritual stone. He noticed that the seal was no different from the seal on the other treasures outside. Chu Fengmian gathered his spiritual energy and turned his right hand into a battle dragon claw. He grabbed at the royal grade spiritual stone. Stop! Suddenly, a shout was heard. A figure suddenly appeared in front of Chu Fengmian. His spiritual energy exploded and separated Chu Fengmian from the royal grade spiritual stone. This royal grade spiritual stone is valued by the Earth Demon Sect. It belongs to the Earth Demon Sect. Get lost if you don't want to die. It was a young man in red robes. His body contained a monstrous demonic aura. At a glance, he was a disciple of the Earth Demon Sect. The young man said arrogantly. When he saw the royal grade spirit stone, he immediately stopped Chu Fengmian and tried to snatch it. Chu Fengmian frowned when he saw his overbearing and arrogant behavior. Young Master of Bones. Seeing this young man, Bai Xian's face showed a bit of fear. This person is extremely powerful. His strength is comparable to our North Mang Academy's seed disciples. It's said that he has even killed a second-level life and death realm expert. Oh? It's you, Bai Xian? Hearing Bai Xian's words, young Master White Bones suddenly turned his head over and recognized Bai Xian with a single glance. I didn't expect to meet you here. Last time, this young master made you my concubine, but I didn't expect you to escape. Today, this young master has met you again. This is fate between us. The Prince of Bones looked at Bai Xian and laughed loudly. Just in time. Today, I first obtained a treasure, then a beauty. This is indeed a joyous day for this young master. Surrender obediently. This time, I won't let you escape. Young Master White Bones' spiritual energy suddenly erupted. This spiritual energy immediately turned into countless white bones that surrounded him. These skeletons were not ordinary skeletons. Many of them were extraordinarily tough. They were the skeletons of saints, life and death realm experts, and even demonic gods. These white bones transformed into an incomparably huge palm, which suddenly pressed down. This skeletal hand was probably much tougher than an earthly rank spiritual weapon. Not good. Retreat quickly. Facing this white bone palm, Bai Xian urged her spiritual energy and called out, wanting to escape first. However, before she could finish her words, Chu Fengmian's figure had already rushed over. You're just a little demon of the Earth Demon Sect. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Sooner or later, I'll destroy you demons. Today, I'll kill you first. Let's see if you can still be so arrogant. Chu Fengmian's eyes revealed some killing intent. The battle dragon power in his body suddenly condensed. Fight! The word fight caused the ancient battle dragon bloodline in Chu Fengmian's body to boil. Surging spiritual energy flooded his body. He abruptly threw a punch at the skeletal palm. Boom! Under Chu Fengmian's punch, the white bone palm was completely shattered. Countless bones within it were broken. This white bone palm was shattered by Chu Fengmian's punch. What? You can actually break this young master's white bone palm? Young Master White Bone's face revealed an expression of disbelief. He saw Chu Fengmian at first glance, but young Master White Bone didn't put Chu Fengmian in his eyes at all. Chu Fengmian was just a martial artist at the 4th level of the divine power realm. In his eyes, Chu Fengmian was just an ant. However, this ant actually broke his white bone palm. But soon, the shock on young Master White Bone's face dissipated, revealing a somewhat gloomy expression. I didn't expect this young master to have misjudged you. You're actually an expert. But kid, you're digging your own grave for daring to go against this young master. Today, this young master will kill you first, then subdue Bai Xian. Young Master White Bone let out a long roar. The countless bones around him suddenly condensed, turning into incomparably sturdy white bone spears. Kid, go to hell. Whoosh. Whoosh. The moment the countless white bone spears condensed, they madly pierced towards Chu Fengmian. The power of these white bone spears wasn't the slightest bit weaker than the full-powered attack of a martial artist at the second level of life and death realm. Each spear struck out, causing the surroundings to shake for a while. You dare to be impudent with such a puny demonic skill? Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed with a trace of light. He let out a long roar and moved his body, instantly transforming into the ancient battle dragon. The huge body suddenly burst out with golden light, which turned into a barrier. When the bone spears hit the golden light barrier, they were almost instantly destroyed. They couldn't even shake it in the slightest. Dragon Clan martial skill? Young Master White Bone looked at Chu Fengmian. The killing intent in his eyes gradually thickened, and his face was extremely gloomy. Today, even if a true dragon comes, this young master will still slaughter him. You think you can contend against this young master just because you know some Dragon Clan martial skills? Go to hell. Young Master White Bone continuously struck out countless martial skills. Suddenly, white bones filled the sky and fell one after another. These white bones formed countless weapons and bombarded Chu Fengmian from the sky. Chapter 519. Each of these bone weapons was as powerful as an Earth-level spiritual weapon. There were more than 100 of them, covering the sky and covering the earth. These white bone weapons gathered together and formed an enormous formation. They reinforced each other's power, causing the formation's power to become even stronger. Ha! Junior, die! Your bloodline is good. I will kill you and refine your skeleton into a bone demon. It can also increase my strength. The young Lord of Bones laughed. The formation was formed and his strength rose. He controlled the formation and attacked Chu Fengmian. What a joke! Do you think these mere bones can suppress me? Chu Fengmian raised his head and looked at the bones with disdain. Slaughter! Chu Fengmian shouted. Behind him, the ancient god of slaughter's shadow condensed. The boundless murderous intent within the primordial killing god phantasm merged with the dragon power of the battle dragon art within Chu Fengmian's body. They gathered together and instantly transformed into a terrifying blood dragon. Break! Chu Fengmian moved his feet and suddenly stepped forward. He threw a punch. Suddenly, the blood chi turned into a huge and terrifying blood dragon. The terrifying blood dragon roared. Its roars were filled with boundless killing intent. With a long roar, the formation formed by the countless number of white bone weapons was immediately broken. At the same time, the terrifying blood dragon opened its mouth and devoured the bone weapons. These bone weapons were refined by the young Lord of Bones with supreme spiritual energy. Now, they were all devoured by the terrifying blood dragon. Chu Fengmian quietly activated his strength and refined these bone weapons into pure spiritual energy. They were all integrated into Chu Fengmian's body. You have some skills. Seeing that the bone weapons were easily dissolved by Chu Fengmian, the young Lord of Bones was shocked. This young master has never heard of someone like you in the northern region. Your Dragon Clan martial skill is even stronger than Long Weiyang's. Although the young Lord of Bones was shocked, there was no panic on his face. Instead, there was some excitement. Good, it seems that your fortuitous encounter is much greater than I imagined. Today, I will kill you and take away your fortuitous encounter. 18 Demon Generals. Show yourself. Rumble. Countless skeletons appeared beside Mr. White Bone almost instantly, which combined into 18 skeletons. The strength of these skeletons were all at the life and death realm. Clearly, these skeletons were all at the life and death realm when they were alive. Every life and death expert was in existence with an extremely high status. In some small countries, they would be considered as invincible characters. And now, all of them had been refined by the young Master of Bones into white bone demon generals and were under his command. These are the 18 demon generals of the young Master of Bones. Each of these white bone devil generals is at the first layer of life and death realm. Young Master White Bones spent 30 years to kill 18 life and death experts and refine their skeletons. Bai Xian's expression was grave. These 18 demon generals were refined by the young Master of Bones with a supreme demonic art, myriad Bone King art. According to legend, when these 18 white bone devil generals work together, they can even contend against third-layer life and death experts, and even defeat them. Bai Xian, it seems like you've heard of my 18 demon generals. Since that's the case, hurry up and surrender. Submit to me and become my concubine so that you don't suffer any more pain. The young Master of Bones laughed heartily as he looked at Bai Xian. His eyes were filled with pride. These 18 demon generals were his greatest trump card. Once used, they could even contend against third-layer life and death experts, and even kill them. He didn't believe that Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian had the ability to overturn the heavens and contend against him. Bai Xian, if you behave a bit more obediently, this young master will consider giving you some of the loot in ancient Yan Dragon Emperor's cave. How about it? It's just a few white bone devil generals. Little devil, you're so confident? Chu Fengmian shot a glance at the young Master of Bones, his eyes filled with disdain. These white bone devil generals of yours must have consumed a lot of wondrous items to refine. Today, you can give them to me so that I can refine my strength. It wasn't easy to refine one of these white bone demonic generals. Apart from the skeletons of life and death realm experts, they also needed countless heavenly treasures to be refined. Refining these white bone devil generals was equivalent to refining countless heavenly treasures, not to mention that the skeletons of life and death experts were treasures in themselves. Every single one of these white bone demon generals, if refined, would be comparable to an earth rank pill. Little bastard. You're about to die, yet you're still so stubborn. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, the young Master of Bones' fury burned. 18 demon generals, kill him for me. Bang! Following the young Master of Bones' order, the 18 demon generals moved at the same time. One after another, incomparably huge skeletal palms descended from the sky. Break! Chu Fengmian's figure flickered and disappeared. With a swish, he arrived at the center of the 18 demon generals, and spiritual energy suddenly erupted from his body. Seeing Chu Fengmian's actions, the young Master of Bones suddenly laughed. What a stupid trash! You actually dared to come to the center of the 18 demon generals. You're simply courting death. 18 demon generals. Set up the formation and kill. Under the control of the young Master of Bones, the 18 white bone devil generals gathered their spiritual energy and bombarded the center at the same time, setting up a shocking killing formation. And at the center of this killing formation was precisely Chu Fengmian. Countless white bone spears pierced over one after another. Courting death? How about a killing formation? You still want to trap a true dragon? Chu Fengmian said disdainfully. With a wave of his hand, boundless spiritual energy erupted in all directions, immediately transforming into countless golden lights. Amidst the countless golden lights, one could even see the shadows of various dragons within. Pung! The golden light scattered in all directions, and the countless white bone spears in the area were all broken and destroyed by the golden light. The skeletons of the white bone devil generals were also penetrated by countless golden lights. Under the power of the golden light, the strength of the 18 white bone devil generals was completely weakened. The strength of the battle dragon was originally the bane of all evil. These white bone devil generals were the evilest of evils. Chu Fengmian's power was simply their nemesis. Suppress! Chu Fengmian roared and waved his hand. The 18 demon generals were all suppressed by layers of golden light. Under Chu Fengmian's power, the 18 demon generals were compressed step by step, and finally turned into tiny particles that were directly swallowed by Chu Fengmian. Chapter 520. These 18 white bone devil generals were suppressed and devoured by you just like that? Bai Xian stood to the side, watching Chu Fengmian deal with the 18 demon generals as if they were floating clouds and flowing water. She was completely dumbfounded. the combined strength of these 18 demon generals was enough to contend against a third-layer life and death expert. Moreover, even a third-layer life and death expert would have to break through 1 point to defeat the 18 demon generals. But now, Chu Fengmian defeated and suppressed all 18 demon generals in one breath, and even devoured them. Bai Xian understood that Chu Fengmian's strength had already surpassed her. But she didn't expect that even a character like young Master White Bone had a trump card. The 18 White Bone Devil generals were easily suppressed by Chu Fengmian like this. Little devil, is your strength only at this level? Compared to those old demons of 9 Demon City, you're still far from enough. Chu Fengmian laughed heartily as he looked at young Master White Bone. His mood was extremely good. As long as he could refine all 18 white skeleton demon generals, his gains would not be inferior to a king-grade spirit stone that was as tall as a person. Chu Fengmian also sensed that these White Bone Devil generals' treasures would be of great use to him. With the Dragon Battle Arts devouring, he would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Brat, do you really think you can suppress my White Bone Devil generals? Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, the coldness in young Master White Bone's eyes was enough to kill. Your strength is indeed beyond my imagination. But, you shouldn't have suppressed these 18 demon generals in your body. Now, these 18 demon generals are going to explode in your body. Let's see how you're going to resist. Young Master White Bone's face revealed a somewhat crazed expression. I'll kill you. With your fortuitous encounter in this king-grade spirit stone, I'll be able to make up for the losses of these 18 demon generals. Die for me. Not good. Bai Xian's face turned pale as she shouted. Hurry up and release the 18 demon generals. Each of these 18 demon generals had the strength of life and death realm. If they all self-detonated in Chu Fengmian's body, they would be able to kill Chu Fengmian. If they exploded in Chu Fengmian's body, even a high-level life and death expert would be blown to death. Too late. Go to hell. A look of madness appeared on Prince Pale Bone's face as he unleashed all of his spiritual power to communicate with the 18 devil generals inside of Chu Fengmian. He wanted to use their self-detonation to destroy Chu Fengmian. Is this your last resort? Chu Fengmian looked at the young Master of Bones and sneered. Do you think your 18 demon generals will give you the chance to control the explosion? 18 demon generals. Refine them all. Chu Fengmian's body suddenly ignited with raging flames. The 18 demon generals were thrown into the raging flames by Chu Fengmian. The countless white bones on the 18 demon generals' bodies were destroyed by the flames and turned into extremely pure spiritual energy, which poured into Chu Fengmian's body. 1 drop. 10 drops. 100 drops. The power of the 18 demon generals was completely devoured. Suddenly, the power of Chu Fengmian's body rose rapidly. Another 500 drops of ancient battle dragon essence blood were condensed. Chu Fengmian already had 6,000 drops of ancient battle dragon essence blood in his body. In just one day, Chu Fengmian had condensed 1,000 drops of ancient battle dragon essence blood in Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave. Compared to Chu Fengmian's previous refreshment, Prince Pale Bone's face was ice-cold to the extreme. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Impossible. What kind of method is this? My White Bone Devil generals were personally refined by me by fusing countless heavenly wondrous items. Even life and death experts would have to use countless methods to refine them. How could you refine them instantly? Prince Pale Bone's eyes widened as beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. These 18 White Bone Demon generals were his trump cards. In the past, young Master White Bone had encountered countless dangers, and he had always used the White Bone Demon generals to self-detonate to escape. But today, his White Bone Devil generals were all refined by Chu Fengmian in the blink of an eye. The young Master of Bones kept retreating. Suddenly, his body turned into a black fog as he tried to escape. However, Chu Fengmian's big hand had already arrived. With a grab, Prince Pale Bones was immediately caught in Chu Fengmian's hand. Die! Pung! The body of the Prince of White Bones suddenly exploded, and a bloody aura spread out from it. The moment she sensed the blood qi, Bai Xian hastily retreated. The blood qi of a demonic cultivator like Prince Pale Bones contained monstrous demonic intent. To ordinary martial artists, it was a highly toxic substance. However, Chu Fengmian didn't care at all. With a wave of his hand, the blood qi was completely devoured by him. Chu Fengmian's battle dragon art was the nemesis of some sinister things. The demonic intent contained in the blood qi was simply useless before Chu Fengmian. The blood qi fused with Chu Fengmian's body. Under the power of battle dragon art, it was instantly refined, turning into the purest spiritual energy. Boom! In the blood vessels of Chu Fengmian's body, there were another 100 drops of ancient battle dragon's blood essence. Prince Pale Bones, a genius of the Earth Demon sect, had countless opportunities. Killing him and seizing his blood qi would allow Chu Fengmian's strength to improve further. Prince Pale Bones died just like that? Bai Xian slowly regained her senses only after Prince Pale Bones' blood qi was completely devoured by Chu Fengmian. Prince Pale Bones was a somewhat famous genius in the northern region. His status in the Earth Demon sect was comparable to the seed disciples of the Beimang Academy. Bai Xian had encountered Prince Pale Bones before. At that time, Bai Xian had to use countless means to successfully escape. However, today, Prince Pale Bones died in Chu Fengmian's hands. He didn't even have the strength to fight back and was easily killed by Chu Fengmian. This person's strength is really unfathomable. Both him and Han Yueli have countless secrets. I feel that this isn't all of his strength. However, compared to Han Yueli, this person has hidden his strength even deeper. Bai Xian looked at Chu Fengmian with a face of shock and even a hint of admiration. Chu Fengmian's strength was indeed more terrifying than any of the geniuses she had seen. If this continued, Chu Fengmian might be able to reach the peak of the Beimang Academy one day. Of course, Chu Fengmian didn't care about Bai Xian's thoughts. After devouring Prince Pale Bones' blood qi, Chu Fengmian looked at the royal grade spiritual stone. He circulated the power of the ancient battle dragon's blood essence in his body. His right hand turned into a battle dragon's claw and grabbed the royal grade spiritual stone and put it into the empty ring. The second update, the title is wrong. Chapter 521. We've really earned a lot this time. Such a huge piece of royal grade spirit stone. I'm afraid that even the wealth of many life and death realm martial artists wouldn't be this much. Bai Xian exclaimed in admiration. Coming to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave was indeed a good place to make a fortune. The two of them had already obtained a lot of treasures in a single day. However, the royal grade spirit stone was the biggest reward he had obtained so far. This is nothing. Such a piece of royal grade spirit stone can only be considered a small treasure in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. Chu Fengmian said disapprovingly. His face was extremely calm. Who is Dragon Emperor Yan? To him, such a piece of royal grade spirit stone is nothing. There must be more treasures left behind by him. Whoever can obtain the biggest treasure in this cave will be considered to have gained a lot. Chu Fengmian sighed as he spoke. The cave dwelling of Dragon Emperor Yan Gu was getting more and more chaotic. Many experts had joined the fray. Chu Fengmian even sensed a few high-level life and death experts. Of course, the strongest was the undying demon venerable of the Earth Demon sect. Just these scattered treasures alone were enough to bring Chu Fengmian countless benefits. The biggest treasure was something that even Battle Dragon Art yearned for. This was the first time Battle Dragon Art yearned for something so much. The biggest treasure left behind by Dragon Emperor Yan would definitely be of great use to Chu Fengmian. As long as there was even a 10% chance, Chu Fengmian would go all out. We're already inside Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. The price of the treasures is also much higher. Let's continue and collect more treasures. Chu Fengmian said to Bai Xian. He directly pulled her and continued to walk through Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. He wanted to collect as much treasure as he could from the ancient Yan Dragon Emperor cave abode. Chu Fengmian's battle dragon art was, in fact, a glutton for cultivation. Although he had collected countless treasures from it, he still had a huge appetite. Although he had collected a lot of treasures, it wasn't enough for Chu Fengmian to reach the peak of Divine Force realm, let alone Life and Death realm. There were so many treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave, so he naturally had to collect as much as he could. The news of Mr. Whitebone's death gradually spread across the entire ancient Dragon Emperor cave abode. For someone like young Master Whitebone, he definitely had some treasures on him. Once he died, many people in Earth Demon sect would know about it. Young Master Whitebone actually died. He had 18 demon generals. He could even kill third-level life and death experts. How could he die? Could it be that high-level life and death expert who killed him? Not necessarily. Young Master Whitebone is from the Earth Devil sect. He can kill others, but who would dare to kill him? Maybe it's someone from North Ocean Academy. No, those high-level life and death experts didn't make a move. Then, who could have the strength to kill young Master Whitebone? Maybe it's someone new. There are so many treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Maybe someone got lucky and found some of the treasures. We can do the same if we get the treasures. A series of spiritual consciousness conversations came from Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode and were all heard by Chu Feng. Countless martial artists who had entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave had already gone crazy. Facing the countless treasures, they were all killing each other. Although the news of young Master Whitebone's death was shocking, no one cared. After all, in such a chaotic situation, even powerful existences could die. In the depths of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave, a powerful existence was surrounded by terrifying demonic aura. It was Undying Demon Venerable. In front of him was an earth-grade spiritual tool, which was covered with powerful seals. But as Undying Demon Venerable grabbed it, the seals on the earth-grade spiritual tool shattered layer by layer, and it fell into his hand. Undying Demon Venerable's face revealed a hint of joy. Suddenly, his expression changed, and his eyes were filled with anger. Whitebone! Whitebone is dead. Who did it? Who did it? Undying Devil Venerable crazily roared like an angry lion. His hair stood on end. I don't care who did it. He dared to kill Baigu. Today, I will tear him into 1,000 pieces. Undying Demon Venerable roared crazily. His angry voice spread across the entire Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian were no exception. They heard Undying Demon Venerable's angry roar. Oh no, young Master Whitebone is Undying Demon Venerable's favorite disciple. You're in big trouble for killing him today. Bai Xian said. The Undying Demon Venerable was a big shot in the Earth Demon sect. He was almost invincible in Dragon Emperor Yangu's cave mansion. Countless warriors had died in his hands. Especially Undying Demon Venerable, who was a member of Earth Demon sect. He was strong and had no morals. He killed anyone he met, and snatched any treasures he saw. He was definitely one of the most terrifying people in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. Today, Chu Fengmian killed young Master Whitebone, who was Undying Demon Venerable's favorite disciple. Big trouble? A lunatic like Undying Demon Venerable will kill us even if we don't look for him. Chu Fengmian said coldly. The Earth Devil sect and the Northern Mang Academy were mortal enemies. Even if the Undying Devil Venerable had no grudges against Chu Fengmian, he would still kill Chu Fengmian. Therefore, it didn't matter whether they had a grudge or not. Let's go. We'll continue to collect treasures and improve our strength. When we're strong enough, we won't be afraid of Undying Demon Venerable even if we meet him. Chu Fengmian said disapprovingly. All threats could be solved as long as they improve their strength. Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian continued to explore the primordial Dragon Emperor's cave. Suddenly, they sensed the aura of countless martial artists in front of them. These warriors had all gathered together. It was unknown what they were waiting for. This is... Chu Fengmian's eyes followed the crowd. There was a huge door in front of them. The gate was already extremely damaged, revealing a lot of its interior. Behind the door, there was a dazzling array of treasures. Royal-grade spiritual stone. Blood-patterned jade. Dragon blood crystal. Earthly-grade spiritual tool. Primordial elixir. Chu Fengmian glanced over and saw that there were over 100 treasures, each of which was extraordinarily valuable. Chapter 522. These treasures filled up the entire secret chamber behind the door. How can there be so many treasures? Bai Xian looked over. Her eyes were filled with greed, as if she wanted to take all of the treasures in there for herself. If one person obtained all these treasures, he or she would definitely become a wealthy person in the entire North region. However, in the face of so many treasures, none of the countless warriors in front of them dared to make a move. No one dared to take a step forward. This was because there was an incomparably huge restriction on the door. The martialists who had tried to barge in had all died on the spot when they hit the restriction. That is? The seed disciple of our North Sea Academy, Luo Changhen. Bai Xian scanned the crowd and suddenly saw a man with a cold face. This man's appearance was extremely gloomy and cold to begin with. His face seemed to be filled with endless hatred at all times. It was as if his heart was filled with hatred. This is the everlasting hatred path. The everlasting hatred path that hates everything and everyone. Chu Fengmian followed Bai Xian's gaze and saw Luo Changhen. After all, the aura on Luo Changhen's body was too obvious. He was filled with hatred and he could recognize it at a glance. The everlasting hatred path was an extremely powerful martial path. However, there were very few people who cultivated it. A person's hatred could stimulate his or her potential. The everlasting hatred path was to gain power by hating everything. Although it was extremely powerful, it was impossible for ordinary martialists to have such strong hatred. Therefore, it was very difficult for them to cultivate it. Only those who had experienced countless disasters would be able to cultivate the everlasting hatred Tao. In ancient times, there had been a supreme expert known as the Sky Resentment Deity King. This person's family had been destroyed when he was young and he had experienced countless disasters in his life. In the end, he hated everything and cultivated the everlasting hatred path. Although Luo Changhen was far from being comparable to the Sky Resentment Deity King, he had cultivated the everlasting hatred path to great success. No one dared to get close to him, because once they got close to him, they might be affected by the path of everlasting hatred, which would draw out the hatred in their bodies and make them lose their sense of self. The moment Chu Fengmian looked at Luo Changhen seemed to have sensed Chu Fengmian's presence and looked over. Chu Fengmian could feel that Luo Changhen's heart was filled with anger. This person is powerful. His everlasting hatred path is enough to affect me. However, he's only at the 9th level of the divine power realm and hasn't stepped into the life and death realm. Otherwise, his everlasting hatred path would be a great threat to me. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. He mobilized his power and swept away the hatred in his heart. His eyes also became calm. When he saw that Chu Fengmian wasn't affected in the slightest, Luo Zhanghen's expression became slightly suppressed. However, he didn't pay any attention to Chu Fengmian. Instead, he focused all his attention on the restriction on the door. Luo Changhen? The change in Chu Fengmian's body couldn't escape Bai Xian's eyes. Fear was revealed on her face as she spoke. Although this Luo Zhanghen is a disciple of the Beimang Academy, he is not trustworthy at all. He is not a good friend. He cultivates the Tao of everlasting hatred. He hates everything, even the North Sea Academy. He hates everyone. You have to be careful. Chu Fengmian nodded and said with killing intent in his eyes. That's right. He cultivates the everlasting hatred path. He's a madman. However, he tried to trick me before. I'll find an opportunity to kill him. Luo Changhen's attack just now seemed to be a test, but in fact, he also had some killing intent. If Chu Fengmian wasn't strong enough and was affected by Luo Changhen's hatred, he would be crippled. Since Luo Changhen dared to attack Chu Fengmian already had to kill him. Apart from Luo Changhen, there are countless geniuses from the north region here. Bai Xian exclaimed as she scanned the crowd and saw familiar figures. This is Kanglin Ba from the martial arts family, Kanglin family. He cultivates pure martial arts. His strength isn't inferior to Luo Changhen's. Chu Fengmian saw that Kanglin Ba was a pure martial artist. His martial arts were extremely pure. It seemed like he was on a mission to reach the pinnacle of martial arts. This is Kunyo Tian, a genius from the hidden heavenly coffin sect. The Tao of decay that he cultivated was extremely strange. He's extremely difficult to deal with and extremely strong. Kunyo Tian was dressed in black and looked extremely mysterious. The spiritual energy in his body was extremely strange. The spiritual energy around him started to wither and decay. Hidden forces. In the North region, apart from the two giants, Biming Academy and Earth Demon Sect, and countless martial arts families, there were also other hidden forces. These hidden forces never revealed themselves. They had very few disciples, but every one of them was an elite. They were very similar to the martial arts families. However, the martial arts families relied on their bloodline. These hidden forces had their own unique secret techniques. Many of the disciples from these hidden forces were extremely strange. There's also Holy Sun Gui Gu from Earth Demon Sect. Battle Demon Venerable and these two. Chu Fengmian had seen Ghost Valley Saint Sun and Battle Demon Venerable once before. Ghost Valley Saint Sun looked like a 7 or 8-year-old child. But in fact, he cultivated a supreme demonic art, which allowed him to maintain his youthful appearance. Ghost Valley Saint Sun was vicious and merciless. It was said that he liked to devour the essence blood of many young women. Not for the sake of cultivation, but simply for pleasure, they were notorious in the northern region. Even the geniuses of the Yan dynasty in the west region are here. Bai Xian looked at them one by one, her face full of amazement. Many of these people wouldn't normally appear in the north region. Now, it seemed that Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion had attracted all of them. The opening of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion was simply a gathering of geniuses. There are no high-level life and death experts. Chu Fengmian swept his gaze around and calmed down a lot. Only high-level life and death experts could pose a fatal threat to Chu Fengmian. Although these geniuses were difficult to deal with, they weren't impossible. There were countless treasures in the secret chamber behind the door. Although Chu Fengmian couldn't take them all, he could still snatch a few. However, the restriction in front of him isolated everyone from the treasures. Among the crowd, the strongest few venerables seemed to be in the middle of a discussion. Suddenly, they seemed to have reached an agreement and scattered. Countless spiritual energies began to condense. Chapter 523. Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian stood behind the crowd, not intending to go forward. The seal on the door could not stop Chu Fengmian. As long as Chu Fengmian used the power of his bloodline, he could easily break through it. However, Chu Fengmian could not expose the secret of his bloodline under the watchful eyes of the crowd. He could only follow behind the crowd and wait. Among the crowd, the most powerful ones were Luo Zhanan, Kanglin Ba, Ku Xiutian, Gui Gu Holy Sun and War Demon Honorable. The 5 of them were secretly discussing with each other, planning to join forces and break the seal in one fell swoop. Ha! Boom! The 5 of them joined forces and suddenly mobilized countless spiritual energies to attack the seal on the door. Although the seal on the door was extremely powerful, it had already decayed after tens of thousands of years. Under the attack of the power, countless cracks appeared and it was about to break. The seal is about to break. Let's attack together and break the seal. Once the seal is broken, we can enter the room and the countless treasures inside will be ours. Countless people also started to attack. Suddenly, countless powerful martial techniques burst out one after another. Under the attack of the power, the layers of cracks on the seal deepened and in a flash, it was completely broken. Bang! As the seal was broken, the door suddenly collapsed. The countless treasures in the secret room instantly fell into everyone's sight. So many treasures. This is a huge treasure. Royal-grade spiritual stones. Royal-grade spiritual stones. There are even heavenly-grade spiritual weapons. So many treasures. Quickly, quickly, enter the room and collect them all. Get out of the way and let me in. All the treasures are mine. Countless warriors seem to have gone mad. Everyone activated their escape lights, wanting to enter the secret chamber to fight for the treasures. The scene suddenly became chaotic. The moment Luo Zhanhen and the other four broke the seal, they all turned into light and rushed into the secret room. Suddenly, countless seals were placed at the door of the secret room. With the exception of the 5 of them, everyone else was blocked outside the gate. The 5 of us broke the seal. How dare trash like you come and join in the fun? Those who dare to cross the boundary. Kill without mercy. Luo Zhanhen looked coldly at the crowd and shouted. These 5 people had already blocked the entrance to the secret chamber, making it impossible for anyone to enter. What? The 5 of them actually intend to take all the treasures in this secret chamber for themselves. Let's kill. Kill our way in. I don't believe that the 5 of them can stop so many of us. Countless warriors attacked one after another. Although they were not as strong as the 5 of them, they were still geniuses. Under the temptation of countless treasures, how could they still be rational? All of them attacked Luo Zhanhen one after another. Courting death? Luo Zhanhen furrowed his brows as a monstrous hatred erupted from his body. He moved his palm and the boundless hatred condensed into a lasting hatred blade. As the saber slashed out, it was as if it contained the boundless hatred of the world. Under this saber, it was vividly displayed. In an instant, the few supremacies who had rushed over were all killed by his blade. This saber strike also forced countless cultivators to retreat. Under Luo Zhanhen's saber strike, 7 supremacies died on the spot. The strength of these 7 supremacies was below that of a peak saint. However, they were all killed by Luo Zhanhen's saber strike. What should we do? Are the 5 of them going to take all the treasures in here? Bai Xian's face was full of unwillingness. Everyone wanted to take the treasures in here. It was fine if each of them took a few treasures, but the 5 of them wanted to take all the treasures in the secret chamber for themselves. They were going too far by not leaving any soup for the others. Let's wait for a moment. It won't be easy for the 5 of them to guard the treasures in this secret chamber. Chu Fengmian said unhurriedly. Right after Chu Fengmian said those words, 2 figures rushed into the secret chamber. Chu Fengmian saw that the 2 of them were the geniuses from the N dynasty in the western region, Yuan Ji. Yuan Jun and Yuan Ji. The 2 of them were no weaker than Luo Zhanhen and the others. However, the 2 of them were from the western region, so they were not recruited by Luo Zhanhen and the others. However, the 5 of them wanted to take all the treasures in here for themselves. How could the 2 of them be satisfied? Yuan Ji. Yuan Jun. This is the northern region. The Yuan clan has no power here. How dare you oppose us? Luo Zhanhen shouted coldly when he saw Yuan Ji and Yuan Jun attacking. If you leave now, you can still look for other treasures. Other treasures? The treasures in the ancient Yan Dragon Emperor cave dwelling are all ownerless. You want to take them all for yourselves? Aren't you a little too greedy? Yuan Ji looked at Luo Zhanhen and shouted coldly. I've heard that the everlasting hatred saber in Zhanhen's hands is extremely sharp. Let's see if your everlasting hatred saber can cut me in half. As Yuan Ji spoke, a burst of spiritual energy suddenly burst out. Boundless spiritual power transformed into a golden spear in his hand. The power of the golden spear was extremely unique. It originated from the Western region's Destiny dynasty's unique power of destiny. Humph, puny and Dao. You can't even withstand a single blow from my everlasting hatred Dao. Everlasting hatred merciless. Kill, kill, kill. Luo Zhanhen shouted coldly and did not back down. His spiritual power suddenly burst out, and the everlasting hatred saber in his hand slashed out. Bang! The spear and the saber clashed. The two of them were peerless geniuses, and their strength was on par with each other. Me too! Yuan Jun's spiritual power also burst out, condensing into a long spear, and rushed forward. On the other side, Kanglinba also went forward to meet them. Among the five of them, Luo Zhanhen, Kanglinba, Ku Huitian, and Fighting Demon Honorable were guarding the entrance. The Holy Sun Guigu was among them, constantly collecting the treasures. Let's go too. Kill! If we break through their blockade, we'll all have a share of the treasures. When the martial artists saw Yuan Ji and Yuan Jun taking action, they followed closely behind and attacked with countless martial techniques. In front of the secret chamber, there was suddenly chaos. Martial techniques flew everywhere, and countless sage blood essences spurted out. No one knew how many martial artists died in the chaotic battle. In the chaos, the blockade set up by the four of them suddenly became full of loopholes. It's time for us. Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. When he saw the chaos, he made a prompt decision to take action. Today's 5 chapters, I'll add one more. When I have time, I'll add more chapters. Please support me. Chapter 524. It was still a mess in front of the door of the secret chamber. Countless warriors were attacking the restriction in front of the door. However, the strength of Luo Zhanhen and the other 3 was clearly superior. The ordinary warriors were no match for them. Even Yuan Ji and Yuan Jun were unable to break the restriction in a short time. Looks like I have to help them. I can only sneak in if the situation is chaotic. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. He immediately hid his body and approached them silently. Boom! When Yuan Ji and Yuan Jun joined forces to attack the restriction, Chu Fengmian's beast gathered spiritual energy and attacked. Boom! Due to this tremendous force, countless explosions rang out. The seal set up by Luo Zhanhen and the other 4 was instantly shattered by these loud explosions. Great! We've broken their restriction. Let's go in and collect the treasures. Many warriors were overjoyed and exclaimed. They used countless escape lights to rush directly into the secret chamber. Damn it! Kanglinba shouted angrily when he saw that Luo Zhanhen was defeated and his restriction was broken. Luo Zhanhen, you can't even stop those 2 guys from the Yuan family? Kanglinba, you don't have to be so sarcastic. Someone suddenly came to the aid of those 2 and broke my restriction. Luo Zhanhen snorted and said mercilessly. Hurry up and go in. Kill whoever dares to snatch the treasures. After saying that, Luo Zhanhen turned into a streak of light and dashed into the secret chamber. Countless warriors rushed in. The scene was extremely chaotic. Among them, countless cultivators who had been watching from the sidelines also made their moves and rushed in. In the face of such a treasure, no matter who it was, they would not be able to resist the temptation. Let's go in too. Be careful. Chu Fengmian said to Bai Xian. His body suddenly moved and rushed into the secret chamber. Chu Fengmian entered the secret chamber. He did not collect the surrounding treasures. Instead, he turned into an escape light and flew into the depths. Chu Fengmian wanted to monopolize the hundreds of treasures in this secret chamber, but he didn't have the ability to do so. Thus, Chu Fengmian had long since planned to rush in and seize the most important treasure to him, the dragon blood crystal. The dragon blood crystal was a type of crystal that was formed from the essence blood of the true dragon clan. This dragon blood crystal contained an enormous amount of blood qi. To an ordinary martial artist, it could make up for the missing blood qi and restore their body to perfection. For many warriors who were about to break through the bottleneck, the dragon blood crystal was extremely useful. It could restore the body to a perfect state, which was the most important step in breaking through the bottleneck. The value of dragon blood crystals was already extremely high, and Chu Fengmian said that they had even more uses. Chu Fengmian cultivated the battle dragon art. His body had already begun to transform into an ancient battle dragon. After obtaining the dragon blood crystal, Chu Fengmian could extract all the dragon energy within it and integrate it into his body, increasing his strength. Phantom. Chu Fengmian pushed the phantom body technique to the extreme, and in a flash, his figure disappeared. He left the edge of the secret chamber and flew directly into the depths of the secret chamber. At a glance, Chu Fengmian could vaguely see a blood-red crystal the size of a small hill in front of him. The blood-red crystal emitted a thick blood qi, and Chu Fengmian could feel the terrifying dragon energy within it. What a powerful dragon energy! This dragon blood crystal is at least formed from the Dragon Emperor's blood. If I refine it, it will help the power of my battle dragon art to another level. Chu Fengmian sized it up, and his face was filled with joy. The grade of the dragon blood crystal was better than he had imagined, and it would be more beneficial to Chu Fengmian. Battle Dragon Strength. Take it! Chu Fengmian immediately activated the Battle Dragon Strength, and his right hand turned into a huge Battle Dragon Claw. He grabbed the dragon blood crystal and wanted to take it away. Humph, there is indeed a reckless person who dares to rashly come to the depths of the secret chamber to take the dragon blood crystal. Go to hell! Suddenly, a loud shout came from behind Chu Fengmian. All of a sudden, a blood-colored infant appeared. The blood-colored infant slammed its palm down at Chu Fengmian. This blood-red baby's blood qi was extremely dense, and there was a thick smell of blood. The blood on it was not ordinary blood essence, but poisonous blood that was full of poison. The palm strike contained a lot of poisonous blood. Once hit, the poison would drill into the martial artist's body, and it was enough to poison a life and death realm martial artist to death, turning them into a pool of thick water. Guigu's Saint Son. Chu Fengmian saw the sudden appearance of the blood-red baby, and immediately understood who it was. It was a peerless genius of the Earth Demon sect, Guigu's Saint Son. He was not guarding the door, but was wantonly collecting treasures in this secret chamber. Now that he saw Chu Fengmian appear and wanted to take the dragon blood crystal, he immediately appeared and wanted to kill Chu Fengmian. Humph, a trash of the 4th level of the divine power realm dares to snatch the treasure from us, and you want to fish in troubled waters? You're really tired of living. Guigu's Saint Son snorted and looked at Chu Fengmian. His eyes did not put Chu Fengmian in his eyes. In his eyes, the 4th level of the divine power realm was just like an ant, and he could kill Chu Fengmian with a wave of his hand. He just waved his hand, and a lot of spiritual power surged. The blood-red baby's palm strike contained a lot of poisonous blood, and suddenly fell, wanting to kill Chu Fengmian directly. Wanna kill me? With your insignificant demonic skill? Chu Fengmian's face showed a bit of disdain. Looking at the palm strike that contained a lot of poisonous blood, he snorted, and his body suddenly emitted a lot of golden light. Battle Dragon's Might. Swish! The palm strike hit Chu Fengmian's side, and suddenly shattered when it was 3 levels away from Chu Fengmian. The poisonous blood was also instantly purified. The poisonous blood could not get close to Chu Fengmian's body at all. Under the power of the Battle Dragon's might, it was all scattered. At the same time, the power of the Battle Dragon's might also burst out and spread out. Suddenly, countless cracks appeared on the blood-red baby. What bloodline is this? How can it restrain my power? Guigu's Saint Son's eyes showed a bit of shock. He could feel that Chu Fengmian's power was simply his nemesis. However, the expression on Guigu's face quickly changed, and he showed a bit of a sneer. So what if you have some Dragon Clan bloodline? I don't believe that you can overturn the heavens with the strength of the 4th level of the divine power realm. Poisonous blood descends. Thousands of poisons gather. Chapter 525. Each drop of blood contained tens of thousands of deadly poisons. It was unknown how long it took the Holy Son of the Gui Valley to collect all of them and cultivate his supreme poison technique. The moment the poisonous blood fell, the poisonous blood turned into countless toxins and fell down. If anyone were to come into contact with this poisonous blood, they would most likely die in an instant. The poisonous blood that filled the sky shrouded Chu Fengmian and completely sealed off his surroundings, wanting to completely annihilate him. Ridiculous. So what if there are thousands of toxins? The war dragon is invulnerable to poison. Chu Fengmian laughed out loud. His body suddenly moved in the face of the endless poisonous blood that was attacking him. He didn't dodge or evade. Instead, he went forward to greet them. In Chu Fengmian's body, the power of his war dragon bloodline was activated to the extreme. The ancient war dragon was invulnerable to poison. How could such a small amount of toxins affect the ancient war dragon? Go away! Chu Fengmian waved his hand and condensed the war dragon claw. Suddenly, the poisonous blood was shattered by the claw. In the face of the war dragon's might, the deadly poison in the poisonous blood was directly purified and turned into the purest spiritual blood. Devour! Chu Fengmian swallowed the pure spiritual blood in one gulp. The spiritual power in it was converted into Chu Fengmian's power, allowing Chu Fengmian to condense more than 10 drops of ancient war dragon blood essence. Seeing Chu Fengmian neutralize his poisonous blood so easily, the Holy Sun Guigu's face was full of shock. His body shook and he shouted in disbelief. What bloodline is this? My thousand poisons poisonous blood. Even a real dragon will be poisoned to death. How can you resist such toxins and even refine them? How can a nameless kid at LV4 Divine Power Realm do that? Who are you? Nameless kid? Chu Fengmian snorted. He was indeed nameless in this life. However, in his previous life, he was a famous existence in the 9 regions. No need to talk so much nonsense. You can go and accompany young master by Gu. Chu Fengmian shouted and condensed the power of the war dragon. The war dragon claw cut through the space and attacked the Holy Sun Guigu. What? Young master of bones was killed by you? You talk too much. Before Holy Sun Guigu could finish his words, his body was crushed by the war dragon's claw. Chu Fengmian had devoured all of his blood and qi. Devouring this Ghost Valley Holy Sun brought Chu Fengmian no less benefits than the young master of bones. After Holy Sun Guigu was killed, 6 or 7 rays of light suddenly flew out from his body. Each ray of light contained extremely pure spiritual power. They were the treasures of this secret chamber. Withdraw! Chu Fengmian waved his hand and the 6 or 7 rays of light were all suppressed by him. He collected them and put them into his spatial ring. After Chu Fengmian killed the Holy Sun Guigu, he set his eyes on the dragon blood crystal. Suddenly, he exerted his strength and the dragon blood crystal was stored in his empty ring. A mountain-sized dragon blood crystal was immediately collected by Chu Fengmian. For Chu Fengmian, the value of the dragon blood crystal was even more precious than the royal grade spiritual stone. Well, after killing the Holy Sun Guigu, there should be no other experts nearby. I can take advantage of this opportunity to collect as much as I can. After Chu Fengmian collected the dragon blood crystal, he did not hesitate. His body flashed again and again, and suddenly, he began to collect the treasures in this secret chamber. Countless spiritual stones, spiritual pills, and spiritual weapons were all collected by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian collected more than 30 treasures, which was 1/3 of the treasures in this secret chamber. Another royal grade spiritual stone. Chu Fengmian looked around as he collected the treasures. Suddenly, he found the trace of another royal grade spiritual stone. This piece of royal grade spirit stone was much bigger than the one he had obtained before. It was 3 to 4 times the size of the human tall royal grade spirit stone he had obtained before. Come here. Chu Fengmian's face was filled with joy. He directly activated the war dragon's claw and grabbed the royal grade spiritual stone. However, almost at the same time, 2 figures suddenly flew over from the other side of the royal grade spiritual stone. Seeing that Chu Fengmian was collecting the royal grade spiritual stone, suddenly, countless martial skills were thrown at him. Boom! Boom! Every martial skill of these 2 people was a supreme killing move. It seemed that they regarded Chu Fengmian as an enemy and wanted to kill him directly. In front of treasures, everyone was an enemy of life and death. Chu Fengmian snorted. He did not kill people casually, but if someone was courting death, Chu Fengmian would not show mercy. Courting death? As Chu Fengmian's mind moved, the war dragon's claw suddenly condensed. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The war dragon's claw suddenly fell. The two martial artists were immediately killed. There seemed to be 4 treasures on their bodies, which they must have fought for. Great! After obtaining countless treasures, my strength can still be improved. If I can overcome the life and death tribulation, my strength will reach an unimaginable level. At that time, even the immortal demon Venerable will be trampled under my feet. Chu Fengmian was overjoyed. The more treasures he obtained, the more powerful Chu Fengmian would become. High-level life and death realm experts like the immortal demon master were a great threat to Chu Fengmian. However, if Chu Fengmian's strength were to improve and reach the peak of divine force realm, or even past the life and death tribulation, his strength would definitely surpass these high-level experts. His strength would definitely surpass these high-level life and death experts. When the time came, Chu Fengmian would be able to kill anyone like Undying Demon Ancestor. Only with strength could one reach the peak of the 9 regions. I've already collected a lot of treasures in this secret chamber. However, I can feel that there is one last and most important treasure that hasn't been collected yet. Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. His figure flickered and arrived at the center of the secret chamber. At the center of the chamber was a long sword. This longsword was a heaven-grade spirit artifact. It was a longsword that had reached the level of a heaven-grade spiritual artifact. Even the scarlet flame sword in Chu Fengmian's hand was inferior to this longsword. Heaven-grade spiritual tools were few and far between in the 9 regions. Only a few master blacksmiths could refine them. Any heaven-grade spiritual tool was priceless. Although Chu Fengmian had the abundant lush steel, its power was not suitable for Chu Fengmian. He could not use its full strength. However, a sword that had reached the heaven grade was the most suitable for Chu Fengmian. Chapter 526. Chu Fengmian was a sword cultivator, and the most important aspect of a sword cultivator was the sword. Although the scarlet flame sword in Chu Fengmian's hand had been refined by him and was much more powerful, with his current strength, the scarlet flame sword could not fully display Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship. Only a heaven-grade spiritual artifact with spirituality could fully display Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship. If he could obtain a heaven-grade spiritual artifact longsword, Chu Fengmian's strength could be further improved. It was even possible to double his strength. This heaven-grade spiritual artifact longsword did not appear in the secret chamber at the beginning. It only appeared after everyone had collected countless treasures. Chu Fengmian did not notice it at first. I must get this sword. Chu Fengmian muttered to himself. His eyes were filled with determination. A heaven-grade spiritual artifact was hard to come by in 100 years, let alone a longsword. Chu Fengmian's figure flickered as he approached the heaven-grade spiritual artifact. Chu Fengmian, how's your harvest? Bai Xian flew over and asked as soon as Chu Fengmian arrived. A look of joy appeared on her face. She had also obtained 3 of the treasures in the competition. Although she was far from Chu Fengmian's level, it was still a good opportunity to obtain 3 treasures in such a chaotic battle. Not bad. Chu Fengmian chuckled, but did not elaborate. Instead, he asked another question. A heaven-grade spiritual artifact. When did it appear? Chu Fengmian had been collecting treasures in the secret chamber, so he did not notice when the heaven-grade spiritual artifact had appeared. It is said that someone triggered the mechanism and it appeared suddenly. However, it will not be easy to obtain this heaven-grade spiritual artifact. Bai Xian pointed at the heaven-grade spiritual artifact and said, "Look at the restriction on it." Chu Fengmian looked in the direction Bai Xian was pointing at. This heaven-grade spiritual artifact was similar to the countless treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. There were restrictions on it. 7-colored light shone around this heaven-grade spiritual artifact. However, there was something different about the restrictions on this heaven-ranked spiritual artifact, and that was the difference in power. The restriction on this heaven-grade spiritual weapon was probably much stronger than the restriction on the door of the secret room, even though it had been eroded by the passage of time for 50,000 years. The power within made Chu Fengmian feel that even with his current full strength, he was still an insignificant ant in front of this restriction. Could it be that Dragon Emperor Yengu personally set up this restriction? Chu Fengmian was also shocked when he saw the 7-colored light on the heaven-grade spirit tool. The power of time was the most terrifying power in the world. Countless ancient experts were unable to withstand the scouring of time and died. It was the same for restrictions. Restrictions set up by experts could last for 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years. However, 50,000 years was enough for most of the power to be completely exhausted. Yet, the power of the 7-colored sunglow still possessed such terrifying power even after 50,000 years. Only Dragon Emperor Yengu, who had once stood at the pinnacle of the 9 regions, would be able to do something like this. I can use the power of the bloodline to break the restriction on this heaven-grade spirit tool. However, if I break the restriction on this heaven-grade spirit tool in front of everyone, I'm afraid I'll be attacked by everyone. Chu Fengmian looked at the heaven-grade spiritual artifact and frowned. It wasn't easy to obtain a heaven-grade spiritual artifact. Everyone wanted a heaven-grade spiritual artifact. Everyone present was eyeing it covetously. If Chu Fengmian rushed up now, he would definitely incur the wrath of the crowd. Given Chu Fengmian's current strength, it would be extremely difficult for him to escape if everyone surrounded him. Chu Fengmian muttered to himself. I have to wait for an opportunity. Chu Fengmian observed the heaven-grade spiritual artifact while waiting for an opportunity. There was a lifelike dragon carved on the body of the longsword. This dragon wasn't an ordinary real dragon. Even though it was just a sculpture, Chu Fengmian could feel the terrifying dragon power and ancient aura from it. This aura was even more ancient than the ancient war dragon. This was the aura of the 1,000-dragon ancestor. Could this sword be one of the legendary treasures of the dragon tribe, the ancestral dragon supreme sword? Chu Fengmian's mind jolted and he instantly thought of the origin of this sword. Although the dragon tribe was born with great strength, it wasn't that there weren't any dragon tribe members who were willing to cultivate the sword principle. At least, Dragon Emperor Yengu was an extremely powerful sword cultivator in the past. His attainments in the sword principle had also reached the peak. When a sword cultivator became famous, the sword in his hand was equally important. Dragon Emperor Yengu's sword was one of the dragon tribe's treasures, the ancestral dragon supreme sword. It was said to be created by the 1,000-dragon ancestor and possessed the power of the 1,000-dragon ancestor. If it's really the ancestral dragon supreme sword, I'm afraid I'll gain even more benefits if I get it. After all, my bloodline is the ancient war dragon's bloodline. Although it's not pure, I can still barely activate the power of the 1,000-dragon ancestor within it. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. He had to get the ancestral dragon supreme sword before him. 2 hours. 4 hours. Chu Fengmian had been waiting for an opportunity. Luo Zhanhen and the others were also waiting in front of the ancestral dragon supreme sword. During this period of time, there were a few martial supremacies who tried to test the power of the 7-colored sunglow. However, they were all killed by the 7-colored sunglow in an instant. They didn't have the slightest bit of resistance and were instantly killed. This made the faces of the people present extremely terrified. However, none of them wanted to leave. This was because the heaven-grade spiritual weapon was too tempting. No one was willing to give up on this opportunity. As time passed, more and more people gathered in the secret chamber. Rumble. Suddenly, 5 to 6 figures appeared outside the secret chamber. However, this time, the auras of these 5 to 6 people were extremely powerful. The weakest among these 5 to 6 people were not any weaker than Luo Zhanhen. The strongest one among them was vaguely stronger than countless people present. Who are these people? Countless people present looked over. When they saw the huge word Baron on the chest of these 5 to 6 people, their faces changed drastically. The word Baron represented their identity. Central Region. They are from the ancient Desolate sect. Bai Xian said with her mouth agape. Why are the disciples of the ancient Desolate sect in our North Region? Chapter 527. It wasn't just Bai Xian. Even Luo Zhanghen, Kanglan Ba, and the others were shocked. The ancient Baron sect was one of the 7 great sects. In the entire 9 regions, the ancient Baron sect was a huge force. The North Sea Academy was powerful in the North region, but it was nothing in front of the 7 great sects. Generally speaking, the disciples of the ancient Baron sect were active in the most prosperous Central region. No one would have thought that the ancient Baron sect's disciples would be attracted to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. More and more disciples arrived at Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave abode. Now, many of the disciples were not just from the North region. Many experts from the other 9 regions had also come. The 5 or 6 disciples of the ancient Baron sect came to the secret chamber, looked around, and chatted with each other. Heaven-grade spiritual weapon. There are indeed many treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. These natives from the North region are one step ahead of us and have collected so many treasures. Their eyes were filled with disdain as they looked at the countless cultivators around them. They also called them natives from their mouths. They didn't take any of the martial artists from the North region seriously. Chu Fengmian knew that the disciples of the 7 great sects were arrogant and didn't take anyone who wasn't from the 7 great sects seriously. The ancient Baron sect was located in the most prosperous central region of the 9 regions. The North region was a barren land without any forces like the 7 great sects. The central region's strength was at the peak of the 9 regions. These disciples of the ancient Baron sect were just ordinary inner disciples. They could compete with the geniuses from the North region, or even surpass them. Disciples of the ancient Baron sect, you must have come from afar for the treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Luo Zhanghen suddenly walked out and said, We can't break the seal in front of us. Why don't we work together to break it? Luo Zhanghen suddenly said after seeing the strength of the ancient Baron sect's disciples. He wanted to rope them in, but he had to break the seal on the ancestral dragon supreme sword first. Work together? How dare you trash talk about working together with us? One of the ancient Baron sect's disciples burst out laughing when he heard Luo Zhanghen's words. All of you, scram! All the treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling belong to the desolate ancient sect now. You must also hand over all the treasures you have obtained. Not bad. One of the desolate ancient sect's disciples suddenly spoke up. The treasure inside the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave is not something you can have. Hand it all over now. Hand them all over, and we can still let you live and let you leave. What? These words caused an uproar among the crowd. This was especially the case for Luo Zhanghen, whose expression had turned extremely gloomy. He had tried to win them over, but the disciples of the desolate ancient sect did not give him any face at all. Disciples of the desolate ancient sect, don't you think you've gone too far? Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave appeared in our northern region. We're the masters and you're the guests. You should be the ones leaving. Imo Changhen said bluntly. Since he cultivated the enduring hatred Tao, he was not afraid of these barren ancient sect disciples. The words of these desolate ancient sect disciples were way too arrogant. With just a single sentence, they wanted everyone present to hand over their treasures and leave. How could there be such overbearing words in this world? The people of the 7 major sects are still as arrogant and despotic as before. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. Murderous intent surged in his heart. In the past, the Lord of the Sword Tao had been surrounded and killed because the 7 great sects had forced him to hand over his life's worth of insights. When the Lord of the Sword Tao refused, the 7 great sects had plotted against him and killed him. These puny disciples of the desolate ancient sect were as arrogant as the old fogies of the 7 major sections. The desolate ancient sect had also besieged the master of Sword Tao. The death of the Master of Sword Dao had something to do with the 7 major sections. The murderous intent in Chu Fengmian's heart thickened, but he did not make a move. In the face of this grudge, Chu Fengmian had to obtain the ancestral Dragon Supreme Sword first. Before that, Chu Fengmian had to endure. What? Puny ants from the northern region want to go against the desolate ancient sect? A disciple of the desolate ancient sect sneered at Luo Zhanhen's words. No matter where Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion is, as long as it is valued by the desolate ancient sect, it belongs to the desolate ancient sect. All of you should quickly hand over all the treasures in your possession before you can leave safely. Otherwise, all of you will die today. Bang! The moment the disciple spoke, he gathered his spiritual energy and formed a barrier. Everyone present was sealed within it. This is too much. These disciples of the desolate ancient sect are too arrogant. What's the difference between them and bandits? Dissatisfied voices could be heard from the crowd. The disciples of the desolate ancient sect were enraged when they heard these words. One of the sect of the desolate ancient sect's disciples took a step forward and scanned the area. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed the martial artist who had just spoken. You call us bandits? How dare you insult the desolate ancient sect? Die! The desolate ancient sect disciple waved his hand and the honorable martialist's body started to distort. No! I'm from the Yang family. The Yang family is a martial arts family. You can't kill me. The Venerable One roared. Humph, what Yang family? You're just a martial arts family in a remote area. You're just ants in front of the desolate ancient sect. Die! The disciple of the barren ancient sect said disdainfully. With a squeeze of his hand, the martialist was crushed to death. Blood chi drifted in the air. Everyone's face turned cold when they saw this. This method was too cruel. The martial artists present were all disciples from the major forces in the northern region. However, these disciples of the desolate ancient sect did not care and squeezed the martial artist to death without any reason. This kind of overbearingness made everyone present, especially Luo Zhanhen, turn gloomy. Luo Zhanhen said coldly. Don't you think you've gone too far? A disciple of the desolate ancient sect sneered. Too far? Those who disobey the orders of the desolate ancient sect will die. The disciple of the desolate ancient sect looked at Luo Zhanhen and said. And you, Luo Zhanhen, I've heard of you. You cultivate the everlasting hatred Dao and are quite famous in the northern region. However, your everlasting hatred Dao is nothing compared to the desolate ancient great Dao of the desolate ancient sect. Today, your only chance of survival is to hand over all your treasures and leave the cave of Dragon Emperor Yan Gu. Chapter 528. Damn it! Luo Zhanhen's heart was burning with anger. He looked at the disciples of the desolate ancient sect with resentment. However, even he did not dare to go against the disciples of the desolate ancient sect. Luo Zhanhen was like an ant in front of a colossus like the desolate ancient sect. However, he was extremely unwilling to hand over all his treasures just like that. All of a sudden, Luo Zhanhen swept his gaze across the crowd and said, Don't worry. You want us to hand over our treasures? Sure, but most of the treasures in this secret chamber have been taken away by one person. If you want the treasures, you should look for him first. As long as he is willing to hand them over, we will hand over our treasures as well. What do you think? Luo Zhanhen looked at Chu Fengmian. Immediately, Chu Fengmian felt countless gazes looking at him. Their gazes were filled with greed and murderous intent. Many of them even wanted to kill Chu Fengmian and seize his treasures after hearing Luo Zhanhen's words. Damn it! Hearing Luo Zhanhen's words, Chu Fengmian's eyes were filled with killing intent. Luo Zhanhen's words had pushed Chu Fengmian into the fray. He wanted Chu Fengmian to fight with the disciples of the desolate ancient sect and reap the benefits. Oh! The gazes of the desolate ancient sect's disciples suddenly shifted to Chu Fengmian. Looking at Chu Fengmian's cultivation level, the disciples of the desolate ancient sect looked at him with disdain. How dare you ants of the North region talk terms with the desolate ancient sect? A disciple of the desolate ancient sect said with disdain. He's just a brat at the 4th level of the divine power realm. He doesn't deserve such treasures. Wang Ji, go and kill this brat and take all his treasures. A disciple of the desolate ancient sect looked at Chu Fengmian and said. Yes. Suddenly, the desolate ancient sect disciple named Wang Ji stood out. He looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered. Forget it, I'll kill you first. Let these natives of the northern region know that the treasures in the ancient Yen Dragon Emperor's cave abode are not for them. Wang Ji said. His eyes immediately stared at Chu Fengmian. Suddenly, countless raging flames ignited beside Chu Fengmian, completely enveloping his body within. This flame appeared almost without a sound. It only appeared when Wang Ji looked over. Angry eyes. This is the double angry eyes. The expressions of some of the northern region martial artists changed. Rumor has it that when one is enraged, one's gaze will burn with flames. Although it wasn't an innate divine body, it was still a divine body. However, they are still far more powerful than ordinary people. This raging flame can appear without a sound. It can be seen with one's eyes. This is an invincible power. How could a random disciple of the desolate ancient sect possess such a terrifying bloodline? Some of the northern region martial artists were extremely shocked. Special bloodlines were not rare. At least in the North Sea Academy, there were many martial artists with special bloodlines. For example, Chu Fengmian's ancient battle dragon bloodline was also considered a special bloodline. This special bloodline could only be acquired innately. There were also many fortuitous encounters. Even so, martial artists with special bloodlines were considered geniuses of their respective forces. However, a random disciple of the desolate ancient sect who appeared before them possessed a special bloodline. This was too terrifying. Compared to the desolate ancient sect, any random disciple of the desolate ancient sect was more talented than many of the so-called geniuses. Humph, you are just natives of the northern region. You haven't even seen a special bloodline before. What a bunch of trash. Today, I'll show you the power of the desolate ancient sect. Wang Ji said coldly to Chu Fengmian. His face was full of arrogance when he saw the crowd's reaction. Die! Wang Ji's bloodline power was fully unleashed and countless raging flames gathered. The raging flames roared and turned into countless fire pythons that pounced on Chu Fengmian. Billowing heat waves swept through the entire secret chamber. Many of the weaker martial artists turned pale. They had no choice but to use their spiritual energy to resist the heat waves. What a terrifying flame! We don't even have a chance to resist. Are the people of the 7 major sects really so terrifying? How can any one of them possess a special bloodline? It's over. It seems like this person will be killed as an example to others. The northern region martial practitioners all looked at Chu Fengmian with pity in their eyes. In their opinion, Chu Fengmian was being killed like a chicken by the desolate ancient sect disciples. As for Chu Fengmian, he could resist them. It had never occurred to any of them that special bloodlines would make them invincible among those of the same cultivation level. Moreover, the desolate ancient sect disciples were all at the 9th level of the divine power realm. Chu Fengmian was only at the 4th level of the divine power realm. How could he resist them? Countless fire pythons immediately swept across the sky and pounced towards Chu Fengmian under the shocked gazes of the crowd. It's just a pair of angry eyes. How can you be so arrogant? Chu Fengmian suddenly laughed and roared in the face of the countless fire pythons. This roar was a dragon's roar. Roar! Jianwang 8 chords. The moment the dragon's roar came out, the sky exploded. Countless fire pythons exploded in the dragon's roar. What? This person actually withstood it? What kind of move is this? A dragon's roar is enough to shatter all the fire pythons? Countless people were shocked beyond words. In their opinion, Chu Fengmian's defeat was already set in stone. Even if he died on the spot, none of them would think it was a problem. After all, the difference in their realms made it impossible for there to be a different outcome. But it was precisely because of this that the sudden scene shocked countless people. Dragon bloodline? Wang Ji was forced back by the dragon's roar, but he wasn't injured. Wang Ji looked at Chu Fengmian and roared. Do you think you can resist me just because you have a bit of dragon bloodline? The difference in our special bloodlines is huge. How dare an ant from the northern region like you fight against the desolate ancient sect? What a joke! Boom! Wang Ji's eyes were fully opened. His body was bursting with boundless anger. The angrier his eyes were, the stronger they were. Endless flames of anger gathered around him and turned into a flaming long saber. He slashed it in the air. How dare a pair of angry eyes be so arrogant in front of me? You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.